Welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Joining me tonight in the chair, Trevor Lee. What's up, dude?
Glad to be here. You know
So
I
am
am.
So am I. Into the Elite Eight tonight. We broke down the round of Sweet 16, if you will, last week. A lot of great games this weekend. One of the best, if not the best, the Alma College Scots getting it done on the road at Mount Union in a game that Jimmy Martin, who will come on here and talk about that later, calls it the biggest upset in college football this year.
Which is really not a crazy take. Like,
Not ridiculous. Mount Union, one of the best college football teams at any level when you look at it in terms of record and postseason success.
yeah, in the past, decade probably? Give
certainly.
or take. Yeah, like I don't know how many national championships they've won, but it feels like they're in it almost every year.
There are some classes that have gone through the Purple Raiders over there and come out with 4 rings.
Yeah, that's just nuts.
Yeah, it
but
is
not
incredible.
this year.
Not this year. The quarterback from that particular squad, Carter St. John, will be joining us here shortly. He was the one. They run the ball 2 times near the end of the game, and I think it was 2 or 3 times right at the gut. They're going to go score. There's only a couple seconds left in the fourth quarter. And on the last one, he takes the ball like he's going to do a little quarterback sneak again. This time, though, jump pass. Like a right-handed
That's
Tim
sweet.
Tebow into the back of the end zone. It was badass. I love it. I'm excited to talk with him about it. But before we get to Carter and all the other things today, we've got into the Elite Eight today. We'll break down all the different brackets, Division II, Division III, NAIA, all of it coming at you. Obviously, Jimmy Martin, Matt Schwarzler will join us later on in the episode as well. The Round 2 recaps with a lot of the highlights from all those top matchups. We've got major upsets like the one that we just talked about. And then I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit. Gripe over the paywall for D2 football. And the scheme they're running right now in association with Huddle and Warner Brothers is a very interesting
I don't even know.
dynamic.
You'll have to explain it more. I don't fully understand it.
I'm
So,
going to have to figure it out myself
Yeah,
when we
I
get
did-
there. It's very odd. The outrage, the public outrage on social media and other platforms has been heard and seen by people like myself, and I'm going to have to jump on that train because it is asinine and ass backwards. So we'll talk about a lot about that. Mount Union actually was the only team in Division III to have a paywall on their live broadcast this weekend. So I didn't get to watch the game. Because I'm a cheap ass and I wasn't going to pay $10 to watch it. But that's what a lot of people do. So we'll talk about it. As always, you can watch this episode on YouTube if you are. Hello. Don't forget about the video chapters, the timestamps, bottom of the screen there. Fast forward any part of the conversation you'd like to get to. They're also available on Spotify and Apple Podcast to divide this episode up. Otherwise, listen to the whole thing. We'd appreciate it if you do. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all of that. Subscribe on YouTube. Getting close to 1,000. Need it. Subscribe if you're going to do me one favor here. Subscribe to the YouTube. I would really appreciate it. But otherwise, before we get into any of that, let's go to our conversation with Carter St. John. Joining the show tonight, this right-handed quarterback did his best Tim Tebow on Saturday afternoon, had a jump pass, iced one of the biggest upsets in college football this year, under center for Alma College, Carter St. John. What's up, fella?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on. Sweet
Thanks
thing
for
you got
coming
going.
on, dude.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about on the around the nation, you kind of blacked out on the play call or what?
Not a little bit, definitely did.
I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. That's crazy.
Yeah, I just broke the news to the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach that I did black out during it, and so like everyone's running the wrong play. The center, my best friend JB Couch, started pass blocking when
I saw that on the clip, bro. I was
Again,
confused.
he was mad that I said the offensive line did the wrong thing, so I want to make sure everyone knows I called the wrong play. So everyone everything wrong. It was completely on me, but thankfully just me and Cole Thomas were at least on the same page when he caught it and fell in the end zone. So
That's a good quarterback right there, dude. Come on here and use the platform before anything else to take what you need to take. But I gotta imagine, did you guys have a fun call for that one? Maybe instead of like the pop pass, like a Scott pass, or did you have like a kilt audible, or what was the?
no, it's just called Tebow. I mean, for a pretty
Was it?
obvious.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good then.
Yeah.
And for the record, if we're in the taking credit and taking blame, I didn't know that when I ripped the intro, so that makes me feel a lot better about that.
Yeah.
I like it, dude. That's big time. And speaking of kilt, Coach Couch, he's got some balls under that kilt of his, calling that play at the end of that one. And I think everyone in that stadium did not expect that one. You guys try and ram it up the gut a couple times. Obviously, that front five, that offensive line for you has been great all year. So everyone, including myself, thought, hey, why not give it one more go? Maybe this time we cross the plane. You looked like you got a little antsy on the sell and maybe didn't sell it quite enough. But like you said, it all worked out. Reflecting on it probably just had to be a blur, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I already blacked out beforehand. So then afterwards, I watched the replay again, and I didn't know what celebration I hit afterwards, but I got up in the air too. I think I chest bumped the kicker afterwards, but yeah, I mean, great play call. I mean, we didn't have any timeouts, so first down, 13 seconds. We couldn't get the NASCAR field goal on.
Yep.
So I mean, it was either the quarterback run up the middle or kind of nothing. And so, I mean, I guess they fell for it a little bit, I guess, just threw it over the top. But yeah, great play call. It's kind of funny because normally we have a different package that'll come in. So I'm not normally the short yardage quarterback. Normally it's
Yeah.
Davin Rife that'll come in, do all the short dirty work because I'm a pretty boy and can't do it. But normally he comes in. So we practice the pass, I think, once or twice throughout practice. So that was either my second or third time actually running the play.
Okay.
But not too
I was
bad.
gonna ask about that too, and how many times, because every team's got that like trick play session that comes in, like whether it's the preseason or week 1 or week 2, where you're like, yeah, we need a couple of these in our back pocket. I know way too many teams that will sit on those and just let them rot until the end of the year. I'm glad that it actually made an appearance here in a pretty big moment.
Yeah, honestly, I think we run quite a few trick plays.
Yeah, no, you guys definitely aren't lacking creativity over there. We know that one for sure. And now you make a play like that, you get to be quite the media personality. You're going to be a pro in front of the microphone here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's pretty cool having all this stuff from interviews and whatnot. But really, I kind of sit back and look at the game, and I didn't really. I mean, obviously, 24 points in the fourth quarter against that good of a defense is cool, but I mean, just credit to all the defensive guys, especially Gage Nelson and Odin Safardini, that kind of, I mean, held their offense to 20 points throughout the entirety of the game. Because I mean, they could have given up, said, "Oh, the offense isn't doing their thing." Quarters in, and just like, screw it. This is like, we're gonna lose, and giving up. But no, they had the heart to fight until the very, very end. And when they had that big stop with a minute and 30 left, I like felt it was my responsibility to kind of get it back for them for the lacking of offense that went on for the first 3 quarters. So it was nice to see those guys really stick with us.
That's why we play 4 quarters, man, because you got a chance to go do that stuff. Now, talk about that defense. And not to say that you guys had any lack of confidence heading in there in the second round. You're a very capable football team. We've seen it all year. But with that being said, after the first quarter, it's 0-0. Was there a sense of not surprise, but almost like guys, like, this is more winnable than ever. Like, there's a chance we really bust this open on the road. I had to feel like your confidence, even though you weren't technically in the lead after that first quarter, had to be pretty high.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before, but like, a lot of teams go into Mount Union already down 14-0 just because of the mindset of how good a program they are, and they've earned it. But at the end of the day, we're here. We've made the second round of the playoffs as well. You have to play every play, every second of the game, and so yeah, definitely that first quarter kind of helped. Like, we're I don't want to say, I don't know how to say it, but just like, we're here, I guess. Like, we can play too. Is kind of what we were thinking. Like, again, I think it's all, a lot of the confidence came from that defense that was able to hold them to I'd assume they're the least point total they had.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're damn right, and it's not even close. So I don't actually need to pull up the stats to verify that one, because I know enough up here. And I think you're being generous by holding off on saying that too. But either way, you see all the positive outreach, talk about it after a game like that. And to me, an outsider, someone who just talks into a microphone, to me, that does one of 2 things for you guys. And either A, you've made the next step, especially coming off last year in a heartbreaking loss for you guys in a very similar situation, albeit a different team. Now you've taken that next step. You've exceeded quite literally everyone's expectations, which has got to feel pretty damn good. But now, does that, moving forward, is all the weight off your shoulders and it just allows you to play incredibly free and you've kind of accomplished this incredible feat? Or is it the other side of the spectrum and now there's more pressure maybe than there even was before because of what you've been able to accomplish?
I think there's a middle ground. Obviously, we did, I guess.
Good answer. I'm baiting you with that one, but good answer. I'll let you finish it.
We did what was unthinkable to the Division III world, although I think inside of our building we knew we would be able to beat them. But I think it's 2 sides of it. Like, we just beat the number 2 team in the nation. So, keep going, keep playing hard, keep doing what we've been doing. But also, we still have one game. The most important game is the next one, so we have
Hell yeah.
one game this Saturday, and so we still have to play regardless. Can't get too high, can't get too low on anything. So just kind of playing how we've been playing and try to keep it rolling.
Now, whether you're the self-proclaimed pretty boy over there, resident pretty boy for the Scots team or not, 90-yard drive, 129 on the clock, I believe, seemed to be a pretty even keel guy, and all the stuff that I've seen from you, whether it be on or off the field. You don't feel like you get too high or too low, which is a great quality for a quarterback to have. Was it like that in that moment, or were you feeling a lot of those emotions and those kind of things?
I think so. One of the alumni that I'm fairly close with, Steve Ernst, texted me before the game saying there are 2 billion people in China that don't give a crap about what the outcome of the game is.
Is that what he said? Don't give a crap?
Well, he didn't say that, but so just like, no matter what happens, just plan your best that you can, regardless of the situation. Obviously, a little bit nerve-wracking there at the end, but at the end of the day, the defense got the ball back to the offense, and again, like I said, just trying to pay back our dues to the defense, so we're able to have one more week. But yeah, I don't think anyone was really super nervous going into that last drive because we'd been able to move the ball fairly well. Once we got going, it was just trying to get going was a struggle a little bit in the first 3 quarters, but once we got it rolling, we got rolling.
Yeah, and it sounded like hearing you talk about it, it felt, at least from your perspective, like you guys were one big play away from busting open a lot of those previous possessions. That kind of was the mindset moving forward, is that, hey, it's this possession or it's not, and we need to have it right here. So, I mean, I know one of the mottos that I definitely go by, football or life in general, is it needs to happen, so it's going to happen. And it's kind of what it seems to be, at least from my perspective, how you guys approached it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think once Jordan Williams broke that little angle route, we were in field goal range. So just from there, just being smart. But yeah, I mean, what he bust off for 52 yards, I think that made everything a little bit more easy for the rest of the drive. Just knowing we were in that field goal range, just not doing anything stupid with the ball, being aware of the clock. Yeah, I think made a very nice play. I think just busted it through, broke one tackle, and then got tackled eventually down probably around the 20-ish, something like that. But that was just huge for us because now we can not be cautious, but know at least there will be an overtime.
Pretty tough environment to play in over there, or what?
I mean, here and there. I think their fans expected to win, so I think the Scots travel very well, and so I think almost had more fans than they did. I would, although it was at least close. But listening back to the radio broadcast of the cheers that happened after that last little Tebow pass, I mean, it just exploded. Like I had to turn the volume down on my headphones just because. I mean, I think the Scots travel very, very well, regardless of where we're playing.
And with that being said, talk about this weekend, man. The ability and the opportunity to host the quarterfinal in Alma. That has got to be a fucking awesome prospect for you and that squad over there. And, whether you guys travel well or not, I know they're going to show up, and that place is going to be absolutely rocking on Saturday. Talk about that.
Yeah, special place here in Alma. I think a lot of the success recently has brought a lot of alumni back. A lot of the students are super engaged in it. I mentioned it before, but a lot of the other sports teams, the football team tries to support everyone, and I think a lot of the sports around here in Alma just support each other. So it's super awesome seeing a lot of the guys that aren't dressing, that are kind of on the practice or on the scout team, and just in the back of the end zone, on both sides, just feeling it. It's awesome. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an earthquake, something like that.
That was like, man, I think it was Seattle where they had the, dude, I'm not smart enough to know what measures the earthquakes or like the magnitude, like the Richter scale and all that. But whatever it was, the thing was set off by the Seattle Seahawks and I think it was the Beastquake. That's what it was. It was the Beastquake run from Lynch into the end zone. Yeah. Whatever that instrument is, we need one down in Alma this weekend, and we're gonna set it off. That'd be That'd be pretty electric. But to finish it off, we are going to talk about you a little bit. So you're going to stomach this, and then we'll talk about some of your teammates. So you'll be able to dish it off after after I gas you up a bit. Now, I wanted to ask, does last year to this year feel like a very, I don't know what the word is, but does it feel like as big of a jump as maybe on paper it is? Your completion percentage almost goes up almost 10%. You're taking great care of the ball. You have less than half your interceptions than just a year ago today, and now you're having more yards and on the ground and through the air per game than you've had in your career. And I just wanted to know, does it feel like you've taken that step, or is that just same players, same game, just with great guys around him and a great scheme?
Yeah, definitely. You can try to ask about me all you want, but it's definitely the scheme, definitely the receivers, the running backs, the offensive line that's doing all the work.
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of joke around by myself by saying I'm kind of a system quarterback. I think a lot of people are able to kind of do the things that I'm able to just because of the system and the players that I'm thankful and grateful to be around. I think offensive coordinator Zach Riepma does a great job of calling plays, making sure I'm very well versed in what the defense upcoming will be in. And I just I joke around that I'll close my eyes and one of the receivers will come down with it. And sometimes that's what I do. But,
I love it.
Everyone's doing a great job here and hopefully we keep it rolling.
Carter St. Purdy, dude. I like it. We'll finish it off then talking about some of those teammates, man. The trust you have in the guys outside first, guys like Frenchko and Webb that have been there for years. And then you got, some newer guys in the team, new faces like Zach Poff. What is their relationship with the guys on the outside? Like you said, whether you're throwing it to them with one eye, two eyes, or blindfolded.
Yeah, I've done a little bit more kind of one-on-one film with all the receivers
Okay.
just to make sure we're all on the same page. Every Friday, a few of the guys will come down and we'll just go through kind of what we think every formation, what they're going to come out and what route. All right, we have this route. What do you want me to do? How do you want me to do it? And then I'll go through kind of, okay, here's how you can change it. We'll watch the practice film. Here's what maybe could happen. What if I do this? What if you do this? Just trying to always be on the same page with everyone, just so there aren't any huge mistakes, and then just being able to give them an opportunity to make the plays that they've been able to make throughout the entire season.
And finally, I'll let you rave about your boys a little bit more. The front five, man, that offensive line unit. As far as conference play is concerned, you guys had more than 500 yards on the ground, more than even the next team in second place. I don't even remember who it was, but when it comes to pounding the rock, it feels like in this part of the Midwest, almost nobody does it better. Talk about those guys and what you're able to do with them.
Yeah, I think JB Couch, the center, has done a great job, along with Reese Townsend, the right tackle, and then our left guard, Maddox Moselle, have really been able to step up. And I think, let's see, Reese started last year, was the only returner from last year.
Okay.
Owen,
Wow.
left tackle. And then we've had kind of just whoever's hot at right guard between Nico Preslowski or Lance Rodemaker. Sorry. Between all of them, Owen Dank, Maddox Moselle, and JB are both sophomores. All of them are sophomores. Reese is a junior now, who's getting old, and then fifth year Nico, and Lance is also a senior. So the young guys have really stepped up. Obviously, having guys graduate from last year and having pretty much new unit in there's a little bit stressful at the beginning of the year, but then I think the communication between all of them have been excellent. And then along with that, just when we're able to pound the rock like that, it opens up a lot of more passing windows for me.
Pretty good for a system guy.
Yeah.
It's all right to be a system quarterback when you're in a pretty good system. And you're a lot more than that, dude. I appreciate you coming on. I think that's all I got for you. But I know that place is going to be electric this Saturday. You and the boys certainly will not disappoint. Excited to see, tune into that one and also see the results. But Carter, thank you again, man. I appreciate it a lot. Have a good rest of your night and rest of this game week, prep week.
You too. Thanks for having me again.
Appreciate Carter joining the show. We are going to move over and transition over to the Division II side of things. And like I talked about in the intro, I'm going to jump in my soapbox here, Trevor. We're going to talk about why the NCAA changed the viewing of Division II football, specifically when it comes to postseason football. Right now, we have a few leagues that are entering different contracts with different streaming services. The GLIAC is a great example. We partnered with Flow Sports, and that's now where all the GLIAC regular season football games are available. You have a lot of different conferences, like the RMAC, who is on the RMAC Sports Network, which is a free service, by the way.
Isn't that
it's kind of crazy.
Doesn't the NSIC do something very similar as well?
Yes, the NSIC Sports
I know
Network, I think, is very similar.
I know it's free.
Yeah.
For all that, like, you can just, for any sport too, they're all free.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But they're you think about that, the priority is eyes on the product as opposed to monetary gain, because they assume that that will come with more people that watch and support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least this would be kind of, I don't work there, but I would assume. Now, then you also have leagues like the Gulf South, like the GLIAC, some of the teams that are in Flow Sports contracts. The MIAA, I don't believe is Flow, but they are under a different payment plan. You have to have a subscription to watch their football games in particular. Now, no matter what conference you're from, you've got to have a paywall. The NCAA said you have to have a paywall for these broadcasts. You're not allowed to do free broadcasts. Now, the direct quote was that there will be no free video broadcasts available for NCAA games this year, and the NCAA no longer allows local television broadcasts of games. So not only are you charging people to watch from the live stream from your school, affiliate, college, university, you're not allowed to have local TV stations broadcast the games. So great examples of this. Colorado Mines out in Golden, Colorado, their local TV stations always pick up their games. That's how a lot of people tune in and follow the Ordiggers.
So like the whole season.
Yeah.
They always pick it, like how, like we usually just have like NMU and Tech gets picked up by
TV6, who's the local channel affiliate, and that gets broadcast
and a lot of like
across the UP.
the hockey games as well get picked up.
So like that wouldn't be allowed.
That's insane.
So you're taking a huge chunk of the audience away already, and you know if you don't think about that might not be a big deal. Oh, it's a huge deal because then you don't have control over the advertising, and that's how you make money, right? Is you play certain advertisements during the game, during intermissions, during halftime, whatever, and that's you're selling out those blocks to different businesses and corporations, whatever, to earn your money. The NCAA is requiring all schools to stream behind a paywall. Each game will cost $9.95, or fans can get access to all Division II football playoff games in the first 3 rounds, so until the semifinals, for $19.95, which is what I did because I wanted to watch playoff football.
Yeah.
But you bought the one.
Plus
pay-per-view.
It's $9.95 or whatever plus tax too.
Really? So it does you get
taxed
a little more?
too. Yeah. So it was like 10, 20 or 10 something like that, and like it still was barely cheaper for me to buy the 2 Grand Valley games because that's what I mostly wanted to watch.
Yeah.
But I should have just got the all access, but that's still just stupid. It's
ridiculous. I knew I was going to be watching a lot of games, so I figured I may as well just get the access because I want to be able to post things on our channels and things like that. But, reading Reddit is a great place for a lot of this stuff. And on the college football Reddit page, they kind of get into a little bit of a rant, and this talks about some of the logistics of how this goes down. And I guess we maybe should start with kind of the official release that came out November 2nd. And this really is a partnership between the NCAA and Huddle to not really produce, but to provide live on-demand coverage.
I didn't even know that Huddle did that.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest with you, when I saw, because I went into Flow Sports originally to watch that, I think it was the Grand Valley Ferris game, round 1, and I went in and it wasn't there, so I went on to their actual, Grand Valley football schedule, and it said Huddle. I'm like, what?
I was very confused when I looked at it as well. I think this kind of went over the heads of a lot of people, and now that we're seeing the actual effects of it, people are now obviously taking quite the offense to it. So,
and then what's weirder too, to keep going, it's Huddle. You have to pay for this, and then for like Grand Valley, when it's hosted at Grand Valley, it's just their GVSU network that they already broadcast.
Same shit.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing. Now you just have to pay for it, and
that's what's crazy too is these companies don't pitch in money to up the production of these broadcasts, right?
That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah,
they make demands.
Huddle
but they don't give
is
the means.
$10 to watch this game, or like any game, right? But Huddle's not doing anything to make these broadcasts better in any way. You're not adding like better commercials or anything. Like there's no media. It's just ridiculous. I mean,
it's absurd, dude. It is absurd. But kind of looking at this a little bit, it's an exclusive partnership with the NCAA and NCAA Digital, managed by Warner Brothers Discovery Sports, to stream more than 200 NCAA Division II championship contests in 2023 and 24. So championship contests, I'm assuming, right, that means that's going to be more than just football. So we're going to see this trickle in to other sports as well. It's kind of my understanding of that.
All D2 sports is what it sounds like.
Which is just, that's insane.
So Warner Brothers partners with the NCAA, correct?
Yeah, so it says here it's managed by Warner Brothers Discovery Sports.
What the hell is that?
That's a great question.
And where does Huddle come in?
Here it says this partnership includes live on-demand coverage of Division II football and women's volleyball championships this fall, and then Division II men's and women's basketball championships this winter. So there's our. I found that. Yeah, there you are. It's right there. So that makes a little more sense. So it's just really frustrating. And starting to read some of the details here.
I hope that hopefully Warner Brothers actually is like doing it themselves, though. It's not, again, just like using whatever the host. Okay, say that volleyball, I don't know where they have the championship at. Like, is it just going to be their broadcasting system? Or is Warner Brothers actually, like... You see what I'm getting at? Like,
I don't think it is. I think it's going to be the same shit. I don't see it changing at all, to be honest. That's my thing. I don't think we're going to see any kind of change in the actual production of the broadcast.
So the football championship's normally on ESPN.
Yeah, and that's gonna stay the same.
That's gonna stay the same.
So it's up to the semifinals. The semifinals and finals will be broadcast. I think that's hands off from them. I believe it's kind
ESPN still gets that.
That's my understanding. Yeah. That's my understanding of at least how this is supposed to go down. But looking at the Reddit here, right, and the schools obviously still on the hook for all the costs of production, right? So your staffers, your actual equipment, and the live stream, all that time and all that energy and manpower, right, and you think, what are the schools getting in return for this? Because they have to be getting something. According to this source, it's a flat $1,500 per game. No share of the pay-per-view revenue, that is a mouthful, and no share of advertising.
So all they get is $1,500?
All they get is $1,500 flat. And it doesn't matter if 1 million people watch the game or 100 people watch the game.
That's ridiculous.
So you're penalizing the teams that could potentially have a very large viewership, really is what it's doing.
Yeah.
Which these teams do because they're playoff football teams and people love to watch this shit.
Yeah. And on top of that, $1,500 a school gets.
That's
nothing
change, dude.
For any D2 university. $1,500 is nothing.
That's literally chump change. Like that's such bullshit.
Like frankly, that's not even. Most players have probably more aid from the school through academics.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Through anything. They're gonna
through
have more,
anything. They're probably gonna have more than $1,500.
They only get that $1,500 if they meet Warner Brothers standards, which include running all the ads that Warner Brothers has sold and sent to the schools to run. Because again, the schools are responsible for all aspects of the production. Now, SID, sports information directors, and other people across college athletics are obviously pissed off, and it seriously is astounding to me that this has passed and this is being put into effect. I really don't understand it. So I think we found a couple numbers here to kind of really explain explicitly how much of an effect it has. And I believe I've got the tweets here that we can pull them up. This first one is probably the best example of it, Trev. You're going to see this and you're just going to think to yourself, like, holy shit. This is from, I believe, and all my cameras all messed up there. If I hover over here, you'll see. This is the director of athletic communications for Slippery Rock, John Holtz.
So this is
not some Joe Schmo. Like he works this, he lives this. He says here, great win by Rock football today, an awesome job by our athletic communications team today. I wish more people would have seen it. We lost 85% of our average viewers from the regular season because of the game being behind a paywall. A lot of work by our staff to be viewed by not a lot.
It's just ridiculous. Like,
that's incredible to me. That is 85%. And not only is it 85% from he didn't say 85% from playoffs a year ago. From the regular season, viewership was down 85%.
That's nuts. This doesn't surprise me because the payroll's ridiculous.
No, and if you're not.
Because think about, like, how many people are just like, oh, I'll watch this game. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch it.
Yeah, if you're not like a Slippery Rock person, like you don't know someone or have a connection to Slippery Rock or like really.
If you're not a family member. Or like a friend or a family member, why pay the $10?
Most of which are already there,
and most of them are already there. Yeah. Why pay the $10?
Yeah. Unless you're try hard like me, that's where they're making their money.
Yep.
Idiots like me.
Yep. Or idiots like me.
I'm part of the problem.
Or idiots like me that bought 2 separate games.
I don't even pay $20. I just pay two $10 payments.
Not thinking that I definitely pay the next week as well.
You didn't know if they'd win. That's the playoffs.
True.
But no,
I'm the real idiot.
It is ridiculous. And just seeing that number right there, we lost 85% of our average viewers from the regular season.
So I can't believe NCAA would agree to this.
And the whole thing behind the point of doing this was to get more eyes on the games. How in the hell
are you getting more
is
eyes?
getting more eyes on the games? And you use an example, another one that I'll pull up here from another person on Twitter. Now, I don't believe this is the director of athletic communications for Colorado Mines, but we'll take his opinion just as valid here. He throws out some good numbers, and he says here, lost 76% of our online viewing audience with the paywall today compared to last year's NCAA second round game. So now, at least we're comparing apples to apples, right? This is NCAA second round to NCAA second round. We were talking 83% compared to the regular season, but even this still is an astounding number. Plus, our entire TV audience. So this is a Golden Colorado, obviously the example we're talking about with Colorado Mines, the Ore Diggers. Their games are picked up by the local television stations, and they broadcast those.
They probably have so many people that watch their games
because they're good. They're a really good football team. And guess what?
That's
There's
what's
not
crazy
shit
too.
else going on.
Lost 76% of their audience from last year.
Yeah,
this team is probably better than the team last year.
Probably, almost definitely. We'll see how the rest of it pans out. But I would say definitely.
They shouldn't be losing any audience.
Dude, it's so insane. And that right there, we are getting a whopping 6% of the net revenue back. Not sure how this is extending the reach of the Division II championships. People are pissed off.
As they should be. As we are, too. We're pissed off, too.
This collaboration, it says in the quote he posted here, in partnership with WBD Sports, Warner Brothers Discovery Sports, will allow fans to support their favorite Division II teams and student athletes from anywhere across multiple platforms. It integrates the championship streams with a broad range of Division II regular season coverage available on the Huddle platform. Right here, this is the target sentence. Our aim is to make championship moments more accessible and memorable than ever before. That's a great tagline. It sounds super sweet. It rolls off the tongue. It's a very corporate way of saying, we need more money, and this is a way we can capitalize on it.
Huddles, all they're doing is saying, hey, you all click the Huddle link, and you have to pay us $10. Yeah. That's all it's doing.
That's my problem with this. And
that's
see this
all
a lot
it's doing
across college sports, is that these upper-level entities want to take advantage of the broadcast, and they have certain expectations of the broadcast. Yeah. What they're not willing to do is provide the schools and universities with the means to meet those expectations.
Something needs to happen. It obviously needs to be better quality because I have problems with it too. But NFHS that uses it's a lot of the nation for high school sports now. And again, it's not the same quality that you need to have for college, but you need to have something like that where you pay for a subscription or whatever.
Uniform, you get everything.
But you get everything.
Yeah,
you should be able to have all access to all Division II sports. If you want it yearly,
you're talking year round too, not just playoffs.
Yeah,
right? Not just playoffs. Because now all you're talking about is, if I have a Flow Sports account, I watch all of the GLIAC football. I'm a huge GLIAC football fan. I watch all the GLIAC football throughout the entire year. We get into the playoffs. Now my Flow Sports account means jack shit.
Yeah,
and I got to pay more.
Or if you want to watch, especially for our podcast, you want to watch someone else, but they use a different platform. I'm not going to pay for it. But if you try to get everyone, all NCAA Division II, or you want to do Division III too on one platform, and it's just this flat rate.
That'd be nice.
It would. Now, that's what they have to do.
If they were serious about that, you're onto something like huge there, and that, it might be a lot of work. To hell with that. It's all into the NCAA. We're not talking about looping NAIA into it. That'd be great too. But it's a different entity.
If high school, I know it's not to the same level. Yes. I get it. It's not to the same quality. But if high schools can do it, like,
why the hell can't we?
I think almost all of Michigan, like MHSAA, almost all of them have NFHS. You know what I mean? Like, why can't we do that with, like, this is the NCAA. It should be easier for the NCAA to do it.
Could you imagine, man? You pay one price, you have access to all. This would be like an NFL Sunday ticket type of thing.
Yeah,
it'd probably be a little more expensive, but you have access to, for people who are actually fans of lower level college football, you're going to get more people interested in this because they'll buy the pass. If they say, you're a fan of maybe two teams, you can watch these two teams all year, and now you get to watch other teams.
Yeah,
that's how you genuinely get more eyes on different.
That's the same thing. My family has NFHS.
Well, yeah, because you're watching. Yeah, of course.
To watch my younger brother, whatever, and like my mom, she would be like, when I get bored, sometimes I'll just go and watch the other teams, because like she's like, I don't watch film with Tyler, like I'm not watching the film, but I want to see what the other team looks like. So she's like, you can click the on-demand game and you can just start watching them and see how they look.
And that's like,
why can't we do that for the NCAA? If we can do it for high school sports, why can't we do this for NCAA?
And I'm trying to think of the word here, but it is, it's genuine, it's authentic, it's like non-forced. What's the word here? But like, that's the way of creating engagement of if non-artificially, you know what I mean? Like,
I get what you're trying to say. I can't think of a good word.
I can't think of the word, and it's pissing me off, but that's how you do it. You want people to genuinely be interested in that, and you're not manufacturing that. You're not forcing that, and you want people to genuinely come across that kind of content, and they stick around for the right reasons. By the way, Lake Orion High School 2019 NFHS National Broadcasting Program of the Year. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
It was a pretty big award, actually. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet
to be a part of. But on that note, too, this on the D3 side, Mount Union was the only team to put a paywall on their playoff game this last week. It was about $10 for the pay-per-view. And this apparently was not the first time the Purple Raiders have done this. I stumbled across this tweet from 2018. And it says here, Mount Union charging $10 for a live stream is an absolute joke. Streaks by 1,000. So they must have been playing John Carroll, the Blue Streaks. Yeah. That was September 22nd of 2018. So Mount Union's been on this bullshit.
You know what? they deserve to lose after that shit.
So they turned off all their replies and comments across all platforms, and then they had the game behind pay-per-view so people couldn't even watch it if they wanted to. And then I'm interested to ask Carter about this because the interview would have already aired, but I saw, I think it was like his dad or something was tweeting about how he was like treated super poorly by the people at the stadium. So, I guess this whole Mount Union environment is just a shithole over there.
Well, all they expect is to win all the time. So they didn't know what the fuck was happening when they just lost.
They didn't know how to operate, dude.
Like their bodies probably just stopped functioning.
Oh my gosh. But let's get into the playoff picture in Division II. Let's start with that. And before we get into talking about the individual games, we'll take a look at the remaining bracket and what we have to look forward to this coming weekend in Division II. There's a look at the Elite Eight. And maybe a few surprises in there, but notably, I mean, we've got a PSAC rematch, PSAC championship rematch in the national quarterfinal, which is pretty exciting stuff with Slippery Rock and Kutztown. Harding and GV. Not a super surprising one right there, but,
that's the game I'm most excited for,
It's going to be fun. This Super Region 3 is fucking ridiculous, dude. And then down in Super Region number 2, Lenore Ryan, Valdosta State, two very high-powered offenses. Coach Tremaine Jackson's got Titletown down there bumping. Seems to be
Where's
back
that
to their
game
old
at?
ways.
Who's the highest
I believe that will be at Lenore Ryan.
Okay.
But
I mean, neither one
is
it's not crazy travel for either one of them. North Carolina and Georgia, it's not.
No, it's not insane, but I'm pretty sure that'll be. We'll double check here, but and then finally, Colorado Mines hosting Central Washington. We've doubted them. I've picked against them twice. They have won twice, and Central Washington is now here playing the best team in the country.
And they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs, but here they are.
That's football, man. You get hot at the right time. You make plays at the right time, and you go on the road at Bemidji State. We'll get into this more of the specifics later, but to go on the road, be down 17-0 and score 21 unanswered at Bemidji, a long way from home, and to pull out that victory is huge. So we'll talk about them and all the teams later, but let's start off in Super Region number 1, Slippery Rock at Tiffin, and this one is a game that we had talked about quite a bit, and I said for a long time, Tiffin is the 1 seed, technically, and then there's all the seeding and everything. Slippery Rock, don't get it twisted. Slippery Rock is the team to beat in this region.
You said it. You called it.
Well, and the thing is, it's not even a crazy prediction. Like, people were saying that. It's not just me. Slippery Rock, very much the team to beat in this region, and now we've seen that come to fruition because of the way that Tiffin handled this year. And you look at some of these clips, man. Slippery Rock offensively got a lot of things, did a lot of things very well, I should say. But also their special teams game was incredible. And hold on, I gotta get that back up full screen. This was the kick return here, and they're down 7 points at this point. And this one, we post on the socials, make sure you're following us there. This was a huge turning point for them in the game. To return this one, even up the score, they ended up winning 45-35, became a little bit of an offensive shootout. But when you look at kind of the scoring streaks here for both these sides, if it will load here, there we are. This definitely got Slippery Rock going because you go from 14-7, and then it would go all the way to 31-14, dude. So Slippery Rock, they go on and score 24 unanswered points after being down 14-7 at Tiffin on the road against, again, not taking anything away from them. It's a quality Tiffin squad. But this Slippery Rock team came up and got it done. You see, that's Kyle Sheets, right? The wide receiver. They put him back there in the defensive Hail Mary stop point right there. I love that. And then I believe he throws it here. Yes, he does. He completes this one.
I didn't realize how big he was.
He is a monster, dude.
I did not.
He's huge.
I didn't know that. Like, I knew he was good, but I've never actually watched him play.
He's a dog. Their offense, that catch. Oh, I might have to play that one more time because I didn't have it full screen for the people here. They might need to see that one back one more time. Look at this grab from him in the corner of the end zone. Like, this dude's been playing his ass off. He's been putting up generational numbers. How the hell do you guard that?
How tall is he?
Well, I'll find his actual stats. I want to say like 6'4".
Well, he looks like he's 6'8" out there.
You can see how they started to blow it out of the water there though. Slippery Rock. Again, not necessarily a blowout by any means, but this team came up and showed out offensively. They did a ton of things very well.
I think it goes back to Tiffin was a great squad, but how much competition does Tiffin play throughout the year?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, that's why they got wins. I'm saying they're not prepared to play as better, good of quality teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not playing Slippery Rocks and these playoff caliber teams throughout the year, you're not going to be prepared for it as much in the playoffs.
No, I hear you 100%. And Braden Long, the quarterback for Slippery Rock, he was 16 for 23, 191 in the TUD. Like, not a crazy day through the air by any means. The fact that they put up 45 points is kind of wild. Now, again, special teams was a part of that too, but Kyle Sheets had 7 catches for 82 yards and a TUD. Cohen Russell had 4 for 85. Like, got a lot of contributors across the board for them. They had about 450 yards of total offense, which is good, but not insane.
It's not insane.
It's not ridiculous.
You would say that's a good day.
Yeah.
That's a great day, but it's not like something like a stat that stands out or anything.
Now, Tiffin, on the other hand, their quarterback, Keegan Ray, while he did have the interception, he threw for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, he had himself a day.
But they were also down 31-14, and they're probably just trying to come back, too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. On their home field, too, which is that's kind of the wild part to me. But, yeah, I mean, this Slippery Rock team, dude, is ridiculous. And they're one blemish on their record. Like I said last week, if you don't lose in that PSAT championship game, don't get it twisted. They would have been the 1 seed in this region. I think that's why you have to suit up and play the game, because this is how things sort themselves out. The Rock is on a freaking roll right now. And I'm really excited for this rematch against Kutztown. But we certainly were right about the Slippery Rock team. And the offense and the team in general, super dangerous. Tiffin had one of the best scoring defenses in the nation, Trevor. They were allowing 15 points per game heading into this contest. Wow. And they let up 45 against Slippery Rock on their home
Again,
field.
It goes back to what I was saying, just the level of competition you play throughout the year.
It is, and I'm going to pull it up right now to go over it. Obviously, them being in the GMAC, we know a couple of the teams that they play against. And I think the first one that jumps off the paper is Ashland, who didn't have the year we were expecting them to have this year.
They
now,
definitely...
brand new head coach, new man under center for the Eagles over there at Ashland, but it's not necessarily an excuse, just some things to kind of take into account. But, this is a Tiffin team that has won a lot of games very convincingly. You look at, their game against Findlay was probably one of their more marquee wins to finish out the year, 26-7. And Findlay was a decent squad. They needed a little bit of help. They could have potentially been a playoff team in Super Region 1, but this region does not have the most depth, let's be honest, and some of the teams on this side of the bracket. Otherwise, though, you talk about wins over Thomas More, their first year as a Division II squad. Kentucky Wesleyan, love Coach down there. We had him on the show, but Coach Young. But I mean, that program not at a point right now where they're going to be contesting teams like this. Lake Erie, Walsh. Like, think about some of these squads, man. Hillsdale was kind of up and down this year.
Yeah, they weren't as good as they normally
Northwood, even though they finished out the year on a high note, they actually played them the closest. Northwood had a very good shot to win that game, 34-27. This was a very competitive game. Again, I think it goes back to Tiffin had a very good record, but you look at their out-of-conference games, they played against McKendree and St. Anselm. Like, those are not very great matchups either, to be honest with you. So I think that just catches up to you. You don't play this level of competition. When you do get behind in a situation like this, if you haven't played from behind before during the season,
that's what I'm getting
tough.
at, yeah.
Very tough for you to come from behind and do that. But again, all the credit in the world to Slippery Rock. It felt like they were going to pull away. It was 31-14. They scored 27 unanswered. Credit to Tiffin for coming back, staying in it, keeping the fight alive. And, this ends up being a relatively interesting game, but Slippery Rock is very much that team. Kutztown at Charleston. Rushing attack from KU. Still very tough to stop. So is Siobhan Wright. from Charleston. We talked about him. He has been flirting with the top 5 rushers in the nation at the Division II level for the majority of the year, to be honest, over there for the Golden Eagles. Kutztown wins 32-31 in this one.
What a game.
Not a game I was expecting. I thought Kutztown's defense was going to be the calling card for them here. They've played really well in a lot of these games against top competition, but the rushing attack, credit to Charleston, the rushing attack for them was pretty solid. Javon Wright, 35 carries for this guy. 124 yards is solid, but man, 35 carries. I will say what they did a good job of is limiting the explosive plays. With a back like Wright, who we've seen the explosiveness, we've seen obviously the big-time gains, his longest run of the day was 32 yards, which,
still
don't get me wrong,
but
big play. You're not letting off a 50-yarder or a 60-yarder. You know what I mean? Their quarterback, or not their quarterback, excuse me, Alex Brink, one of the other backs, 8 carries for 51 yards. I believe he's actually plays a little bit of receiver for them too. But credit to the Kutztown defense. Bend, don't break. They allow a lot of short gains, but they did not allow those explosive plays. I think that was big for them. They did generate some takeaways as well, had an interception off Javante Howard and some other big pieces as well. But again, not a game I expected to be this close. I thought Kutztown was going to roll here. The Golden Eagles actually got up 21-7 in this one, dude. So Kutztown could have certainly been out of it, but didn't feel like this Bears offense, to me, was one that was built in a fashion where they could come back from an early deficit like that. It seems like with Darrell Davis McNeil and our guy Jordan Davis, when he is healthy, unfortunately he's not currently playing, but it seems like with that kind of backfield tandem, they're a get-ahead and stay-ahead team. They're not a team that's going to claw their way out from behind, but
they found a way.
Their defense found a way, and that's the way they did it. They held Charleston almost scoreless in the fourth quarter. They won 15-3, the fourth quarter specifically. And when you do that in a tight contest like this, you're going to win games. So they got all the momentum in the fourth quarter. That was huge for them. And now you look at this matchup with Slippery Rock, and you're like, they've done it once. Can they do it again? That PSAC championship game was at Kutztown. This next game, since Kutztown is the higher seed, should be at Kutztown, right?
It should. Yeah, you're right.
This might be the biggest fleece in D2. This is worse than the paywalls, almost. This is worse. Yeah, almost. This might be worse than the paywalls. And, Kobe, what are you talking about? I'm trying to find the tweet, so I'm actually stalling a little bit here. But, you'll see it right here. I'm pulling it up.
The official statement.
Yes, here's the official statement from Kutztown Athletics. Kutztown, I'm going to read it word for word here for the people who are listening. Kutztown University regrets that it will not be hosting the NCAA Super Region 1 football final on Saturday. Bids for each round of the NCAA playoffs must be completed by the end of October. Slippery Rock was awarded the regional final home game based on processing a bid for all 3 rounds of the regional. This is the best one right here. Not submitting the bid for the regional final was a misjudgment on our part. We apologize to everyone for this mistake, especially our student athletes and their families. After defeating Slippery Rock in the PSAC title game 3 weeks ago, KU requested further consideration from the NCAA to submit bids for additional home playoff games, but the request was denied. Maybe because it's due in October.
Yeah.
Dipshit. We are very proud of our coaches and student athletes who have led us to another historic football season. We encourage all Golden Bears fans to join us in supporting them this week and cheering them on at Slippery Rock in our quest to win the regional title. So, my takeaway from this, and again, for people who maybe don't understand, the school or institution, before October, before any of the playoffs or any of that action, they have to go through and submit their applications to host playoff games and get that all out of the way. And there's a lot of work on the back end for athletics, faculty, and staff. To me, what this says is this Kutztown athletic staff said, you know what? That seems like a little bit too much work right now. Anyways, I don't even think our football team's going to make it that far.
Yeah,
they're probably not going to make it that far.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
That they didn't think they were good enough to make
then,
it there.
Retroactively, after they win the PSAC championship, they go, holy shit, our football team is legit. NCAA, can we please host a playoff game, like another playoff game, whatever? Can we please? And they're like, no, maybe you should follow our rules. And
yeah, exactly.
I've seen people get mad at the NCAA over this. Is it a dumb rule? Kind of, but at the same time,
it's
you
a rule.
knew about this. It's a rule.
Now, these Kutztown people that want to watch the game have to pay $9.95 to watch the damn game.
Yes, the paywall's back.
Then we're just gonna go back to the tangent again.
Oh no, dude, that's brutal. I need to see the travel too, because now you're talking about not only is it a home game, you can't have the home game, whatever. Kutztown is in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, okay. So let's see. Where is Where's Slippery Rock at? Do we know?
Pennsylvania, I think.
But where in Pennsylvania? Because it's a relatively big state.
Yeah, I don't know.
Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm an idiot. All right, so how far is Kutztown from Slippery Rock,
You should probably
Pennsylvania?
Did you put Pennsylvania?
4 hours and 45 minutes.
No way.
No shit. I'll pull it up. This is incredible. So now you're screwing over not only student athletes, but the families and everyone that's trying to travel to this game. 4 hours and 45 minutes now to go watch the game.
That's a 5-hour drive, basically.
That's a hike. Like that's not just, oh man, like, you know, if you're Northern Michigan going up to Michigan Tech, like a 45-minute drive
or Davenport going to Grand
Yeah,
Valley.
it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like that. This is a 5-hour drive. And so now, not only are you not hosting, what's also big on that is that's where you make revenue, man. That's where these schools make their most money, or at playoff events where you can, charge for tickets on maybe more for tickets or different events and certain things of that nature. So yes, now you have to go travel on the road, and your athletes have to go on the bus for 5 hours, which is obviously not great for game day experience. Because I don't know if this is far enough away where you'd go the night before and stay the night.
I would say it is probably 5 hours.
I think so, but it's borderline.
You know what they should do?
What?
With that $1,500 they get from Huddle, they should get buses for fans to come to the game.
Hell yeah! People were trying to say it on Twitter and shit. Is like, all right, well you fucked up, so now help us get to the game because we're not all trying to go drive there ourselves. Gas money ain't cheap out here. I'm assuming it ain't in Pennsylvania either.
Yeah. Probably worse in Pennsylvania, the gas money. It's out east.
What a colossal just cluster down there in Kutztown. And I'm sure the athletic department is not going to hear the end of this, but they deserve it, man. That is so embarrassing for your athletic department to not be behind one of your teams like that, I think has exceeded a lot of expectations over there. I don't think I think they exceeded even their own expectations. But like, admittedly, I didn't have Kutztown winning the PSAC this year. We didn't know what Shepherd was going to look like. We knew Slippery Rock was going to be good. East Stroudsburg, we knew was going to have a really good squad.
I don't even remember if we talked about Kutztown that much in the
not like win the league, that conversation, but they've gone out and they've done it. Credit to them. And if we were the ones that had to submit playoff bids, I'd have got that shit done for you. But I ain't in charge. I mean, that is just embarrassing. We won't dwell on it anymore, though, but we certainly had to bring that up and discuss that because, man, it's so frustrating. I feel for those athletes and their families, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's go to Super Region 2. Lenore Rhine and Benedict. Benedict, the #1 seed over there in that part of the region. And I talked about this earlier, at least last week, Trevor. It was the unstoppable force, Lenore Rhine offense, versus the immovable object in Benedict's defense. We saw their defensive line. They had 2 of the top sack leaders in Division II. And defensively, their front 7 has been playing at a very good clip. So who wins that matchup? The unstoppable or the immovable?
Well, I know it's Lenore Rhine.
It's the unstoppable. Lenore Rhine goes into Benedict, pulls out the win. We got at least a couple clips here to show you. And, Benedict did get out early. They actually led going into the half, 19-14. You see right there a couple shots. They did. I like the fact that they opened up, taking a lot of looks downfield. Another one right there. Their receiving core got a lot of things done. Lenore Rhine's receiving core actually fared very well too, and I don't know why that keeps
those helmets are
going
sweet,
down
by
on
the
me.
way.
You like those? It's like if the LSU became the Bengals feeder program.
Yeah,
I
think they're pretty sweet.
But yeah, for Benedict, Enos Dennis, he took a lot of shots downfield. He was 17 for 29. Did have an interception on the day, but he finishes with 376 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
That man in the purple and yellow for Benedict was balling out. We're going to take a look at a little bit of the special teams play right here. Lenore Rhine, this has been their calling card all year. It continues to be their calling card. They have a lot of great plays on the special teams side, and I do believe they had a couple main contributors over there. What were you going to say?
They just seem like all around such a solid squad, like all facets of football.
Yes. Dwayne McGee, by the way, have a day. Their running back, 21 carries, 216 yards, and a tud for the Bears. That's wild. Sean White, although he did have an interception through the air, finished with a 310 and 2 touchdowns. And again, that receiving core for Lenore Rhine doing some more work. But it was a different guy stepping up to the plate today. We've seen some breakout games. See the pick right there and the interception in the end zone at a very critical point for this Lenoir-Rhyne defense. But we've seen a couple different wide receivers step up at different points of the year for Lenoir-Rhyne. Diari Rogers is a name that everyone knows at this point. DeAndre Lester, Songa Yates, like those kind of guys. It was Keelan Parsons. 6 catches for 103 yards. He was kind of the X factor for Lenoir-Rhyne in this one, and I think it's a great quality of a team to have like this where maybe your 1A and 1B guys aren't having an incredible day because teams have scouted and watched their ass meticulously all week. Now you have another guy come out of the shadows and just have an explosive performance. Like that's a good quality of a solid team. Man.
I mean, that's a key thing with like really good squads. Your third best receiver is still really good and can put up those type of numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The passing attack for the Bears obviously staying hot. I love the fact that they too are not afraid to take shots deep. They have the talent outside to do that. And, you know, when Benedict goes into the half, 19-14, that to me felt like that was Benedict's comfort zone. 1, they had the lead, but 2, they're in a low scoring contest they want to have where they can rely on that defense, where they don't have to, you know, be in this very fast-paced, high-tempo offense. That's the kind of game that Lenoir-Rhyne wants to play. So going into halftime, I think Benedict was very comfortable in that side of things. I think the sentiment at halftime from the Bears coaching staff had to have been, man, not that, hopefully. It had to have been, hey, let's dictate the pace of play here. Let's make them play to our rhythm and not vice versa. And so that second half was all Bears. Offensively, they came with some big special teams and defensive plays too. But when they can dictate the pace of the game, the time of possession, I think that's where they really turn things around. Otherwise, a game that maybe we didn't expect, at least to go in this way, especially after their regular season bout, Valdosta State at Delta State. Valdosta, potentially all the way back. They come out and win on the road at Delta State 38-31 on what was just about a last-second touchdown. Coach Jackson and company down there. Can Titletown live up to their namesake this year? The Blazers have national championships in 2018, 2012, 2007, and 2004. And we're just now getting to the point now where another one would kind of feel like,
they're due.
Titletown is due, man. They are playing incredibly well right now. Sammy Edwards is playing probably as well as any quarterback right now as far as the playoffs are concerned.
It's just crazy how, like, we were talking about last year, how they were having such a down year. It was last year, right?
Yeah.
And now look at them now. Like the down year didn't last long. It really was a down year.
Absolutely. And it's really crazy. And now Valdosta State, as close as this game was, it was incredibly close. They never actually trailed until the fourth quarter, which is kind of a wild stat. A field goal from Delta State tied it up at 31 with under 3 minutes to go. Sammy Edwards goes to BK Smith for the win. 9 seconds left. He runs that in. He's a grad transfer wide receiver for them. Has made some big plays. Probably none as big as that. A touchdown on the road against the team that you're sharing the Gulf South title with from the regular season, who, by the way, beat your ass in the regular season. If you remember, I might have to find.
I don't remember the score, but I remember it being not that close.
I'm going to find it right now. I don't believe it was close, and I think this was a game they certainly had marked in the calendar. 49-25, and that was at home against Delta. Wow. They got beat like that on their own field. And I have a great quote here and a clip from Coach Tremaine Jackson that I wanted to play in anticipation and heading into this game. This was before the game was actually played, but I would like for you guys and us, Trev, you haven't heard this, to give this a little bit of a listen when he was asked about the difference in this team right now compared to the team that played Delta State in the regular season. And it's going to buffer. All right. Man, I timed that up so well, too, and then it's going to buffer on me. You're joking. Okay, well, we may or may not be listening to Coach Jackson speak. Let's give that a refresh.
Last game that you're going to really take into account when you face them again?
Yeah, I don't think we stopped the run very well, first and foremost. And then I think we stalled out on offense too much. We opened the game up, went score for score, and it was up and down the field from what I remember. But we're different. We're so much different now than we were then. And we were still figuring out who we were. I think we know who we are now, and I think our guys were prepared the right way. There was a little bit of this is still a young football team. Like we don't have a lot of seniors that play for us, and this is their first round together. So there was a little bit of immaturity that seeped in throughout the week because, people are who they are on tape. And when you're in the Gulf South and you don't see Gulf South, you have a tendency to kind of think, we should be okay. Won't be any of that this week. We know exactly who we play.
What did y'all learn the most from last game that you're
And
gonna?
that's
Pretty
it
sweet.
right there. And I think
We
I
know
love
exactly
that.
who we play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And the line right there, man, you saw when he said, we're different, man.
Yeah.
And it's a great point, man. At that point in the season with the squad that he said it has a lot of young guys that don't have that kind of experience.
They just
They're
were
different.
maturing.
And he doesn't mean it as in like, I'm him, like I'm different, like that
Yeah.
kind of. They literally are a different football team from that week to this week.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that happens in that kind of time span. I love this from Coach Jackson and his acknowledgement of that, right? And, what is he supposed to say as a head coach? But I love that. We're different. We're a different football team. They've grown. They've matured. I like how he touched on that as well. And I think when you have guys that have that kind of experience under their belt too, not only that, when you get your ass kicked by a team like that, the pregame speech from him would have been a layup.
Yeah.
That's Dwayne Wade DeBron off the glass, dude. You could say it. You could say anything. This team's going to run out there and want blood, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, dude. I thought that was pretty sweet. I wanted to make sure I showed that. I'd love to get more of that on here. It's just trying to find all these clips because I love finding all these. Obviously, I don't have time to listen to every presser and post game, but, you guys out there, if you have a clip from a coach or player or anything that you want us to show on here, be sure to tag us in the clip, send it to us in a message on one of our social media platforms, and it might end up on the show. Super Region 3. Again, are we a little biased? Yeah, this is the best best region in Division 2 football, man. If Grand Valley can possibly make their way to the national championship game, it will be probably against the best competition, some of the best competition in Division 2 history.
Oh, yeah.
It would be incredible. They used to open up with Ferris State. Travesty, that's a first-round game.
Yeah.
You get Pittsburgh State coming into Allendale. They have to go. We'll start with that one. They close out another close game. Talk about the toughest schedule in Division 2 here. And Avery Moore's got to close that one out, ice it in the last, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
right?
it was 30 seconds.
Ridiculous. And now you're going at Harding in Arkansas against a team that just beat a Central Missouri squad that I didn't know if they were going to get beat. So it's just insane. And now Grand Valley, once again, I'll pull up the highlights here so we can take a peek at it. Their front seven is dominant, and we've known that, Trevor. We've seen it.
Yeah. Trust me, I know. I know.
Yes. And when the GLIAC Awards came out, we saw how many Grand Valley guys were honored in that fashion as well. But
All
again,
of them?
they deserve it, man. The way this front seven, and this defense in particular, but I think the front seven, I just wanted to highlight the way they're playing right now and being able to generate turnovers has been something we have not seen from a lot of different teams.
we should also mention how good of a squad Pitt State is. Though.
Oh, absolutely.
It was going back and forth the whole game. I'm like, oh, Pitt State is going to take over here.
Yeah.
Like they got this, and then it'd go back to Grand Valley. Like it was a great game because I watched the entire game.
Yeah, so did I. It was great. And there's the first of one of the takeaways there. Anthony Cardamone has been a ball magnet for this GVSU defense. We saw a healthy dosage of Cade Peterson here, lobbing this one deep. How about this guy on the outside? He's been a playmaker too. But we saw a healthy dosage of Peterson. Avery Moore got in there a lot as well. See him
I like when they
here.
bring him in there. I
Dude,
think it helps
They have a great little tandem. And who does it remind you of? Ferris State. The way
It
they have
is,
that
yeah.
two-quarterback system with their very different and unique roles.
And it's kind of like my leak over at Ferris
Yeah.
is more of the throwing guy, like Cade, and then you bring in Gulker, Gulker throws the ball more this year, I'd say.
And he's gotten better. And I think
Yeah,
Moore
he's-
has also improved with his arm.
Yeah, exactly.
Chad Dotson Jr. did have a good day for the Gorillas, but his 2 interceptions, the other one there to our D1R athlete, Abe Swanson, who
And what's
snags that one.
crazy is I believe Christian McCarroll should have had an interception.
Yes.
And I don't remember if it was Abe or one of their other linebackers should have had one too. So he really should have thrown 4 interceptions. And there was 2 drops, 2 dropped interceptions that were pretty bad.
There were. And a big thing, too, is Therese Reed had a fumble recovery. So that's another takeaway for this Grand Valley defense. And to me, that's what won the game because Pittsburgh State actually outgained the Lakers 424 yards to 321.
It felt like their offense was.
They were moving the ball at will at times. And
their running game was really good for Pitt State.
It was really solid. And we're going to make our way here towards some of the final plays as we get closer to it. But limiting Devin Garrison was a big part of the game plan. I'm sure. I mean, that's an NFL caliber tight end. We talked about him a lot on this show. He had 5 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. He made a couple crazy grabs. One over the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
There's
one of the forced
still,
fumbles right there, by the way. Sorry.
It still seemed like they contained him, though.
They did.
Yeah.
And again, you're not going to shut down a player like that. But what you can do is limit his impact.
75 and a touchdown is still a great day, but like
Yeah.
that's limiting him. You know what I mean?
Which is crazy to
Yeah.
say, but you're absolutely right. So I believe this should be towards the end of the game. I can't remember. I don't know where we're at in the actual highlights. But yeah, dude, this game was, I mean, this was legit back and forth the entire contest. We didn't know who was going to come out on top of this one. And credit to Grand Valley. They're in Lover Stadium too, by the way, that had almost nobody in there because of Thanksgiving. That was
And it
probably
was cold.
Yeah, that was probably the most empty I have seen that
I was
place.
Are you kidding me?
You know what I mean?
When it was before the game and they had it panned to the away
Yes,
side.
yes, it was
And then,
empty.
you know, the one side that they have is like normally their student section, all the bleachers
Yeah.
on because it's like a horseshoe.
Yep.
And there's no one over there. There was not one person on that horseshoe part, that whole section. I've never seen that.
No, neither have I, dude. Like the
And then
standing room and everything.
yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
The standing room was empty. The other side was empty pretty much.
It's crazy.
And then even like later in the game, they like panned over to the home side a few times. And it wasn't like there were some people there, but it wasn't even.
Not what we've come to associate
It was.
with
I
Grand
don't
Valley
even think it was
football.
halfway full,
No.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, but here is the, I believe this is the game winner here from Avery Moore. I wanted to pull this one up and take a look at it. Shout out to GV. They always get these highlights posted pretty quick. Makes my job easy. Takes this on the keeper. He gets pretty banged up going into the end zone. He was visibly shaken up, but at this point, who gives a shit? Pittsburgh State gets the ball back with about 30 seconds to go. And what else, man? You knew this was bound to happen. The boys get in there, make the play, close out the game. You see Dodson on the ground. He's not hurt. He's just obviously shaken up. And I think they got into it maybe a little bit. Things got a little bit chippy at the end of this one. But, hey, fantastic game from both sides. Like,
great football teams.
that was the definition of like a heavyweight just
Oh,
slugfest, man. That was awesome. Pitt State can come to the GLAC anytime they want. It'd be a bitch to travel, but man, that would be some fun. That would be fun competition. Imagine watching that every year.
They fit very much. I feel like they're very much a GLIAC type, hard nose, Midwest type football. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%. I totally do.
Like
Other guys
they
for-
remind me of Grand Valley. Like the way they play, it's very similar. To be honest, it was kind of like watching the same two teams. Like they were like the same team battling
just
each other.
different colored jerseys.
Yeah,
Man. And I think
yeah.
that starts in the trenches. Pittsburgh State and Grand Valley are very similar in that regard. Of we're gonna have dudes that are bigger, yes, but are more athletic and better playmakers on the
Yeah.
offensive and defensive lines. And
Yeah.
when you start there, that's how you're gonna win a lot of really big time football games. So Grand Valley travels to Harding, and Harding, a team that their finish was absolutely absurd. If you haven't
Nuts.
seen this, I don't know what rock you've been living under. And I think we should probably just start with the way this one ended as opposed to anything else. So let me pull it up right now. And to set the stage for you, Central Missouri driving. They need to score to keep this game alive, right? They're down by 7 points. They drive down the field, as Central Missouri's offense has done so many times this year. They drive down, they score a touchdown, and then it all comes, okay, now I'm already starting to think about overtime. I'm watching the game, I'm like, are they going to go for 2 and maybe to try to win on the road? No, they're going to burn the key. Okay, so what are they going to do in overtime? It never happened, Trev. It never happened. This is the extra point attempt, 35-34. The Mules, penetration, it gets blocked, and that's how the Bisons, I believe, that's how they seal the deal. That might be one of the worst ways to close out a playoff game and to finish your playoff hopes.
Yeah,
If you're the University of Central Missouri, victory formation there from the Bison, and that would all but do it. Man, that is really tough to swallow. And I'm not a Mules fan by any means, but I'm a fan of good football. I love this Harding team too. But man, you feel for that Mule squad because holy shit, could you imagine losing a game in that fashion?
Yeah, that's just.
Ridiculous. Zach Zabrowski, our favorite to win the Harlan Hill, he had a little bit of a day. He balled out
A little bit?
34 for 44, 425, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah. And
I don't know
how
how
many
he does
yards
it.
did
He had also had 100 yards on the ground, by the way. 16 carries for 99 yards.
Can we match that to Harding's passing?
Wait, let me
passing
pull that
yards?
up. Let me pull that up. They had 4 total attempts for 34 yards. They were 2 for 4 on the day for 34 yards. Blake Bella Cruz has kind of been the guy who this offense runs through. He was 34 carries in the day. for 154 yards.
It's hilarious. Like it's so unique. Like who else runs that in Division II football?
And they just beat
even?
Central Missouri, who runs the exact opposite.
Oh, it
insane.
couldn't have been more opposite.
Yes.
You have one guy throwing for 422 yards, and then you have the other team that threw the ball 4 times.
Central Missouri, Zach Zabrowski ran the ball 16 times. Most of those not planned. Obviously, he's not necessarily that. They had Marcellus Hawkins was, the running back at the time. He had 6 carries. And Harding had 59 total carries in the ground. It's just ridiculous. Chauncey Martin had a big one. He busted one off for 89 yards. He had 2 touchdowns on the day as well. 4 carries for 127. Or 123, excuse me. That feels pretty good if you're Harding. Their defense definitely stepped up. Not any takeaways per se. Arkell Smith for Central Missouri has been their top guy all year long. 9 catches for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
That's a stellar performance. But again, just not enough to get it done
again
for this squad, man.
2 really tough teams. Like we're biased, but I still think that region top to bottom
it's really
by
tough.
far the best.
It's really tough to make it out of there. And, we knew the offense for the Mules wouldn't be the reason that they got out of the playoffs. We knew you're watching this. It's like watching Matt Stafford on the Lions or Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. They got 2 minutes left. Like, okay, we're going to score this. Like, you can almost book it.
Yeah.
Zach Zabrowski and this offense are going to drive down and score. But Harding makes your offense wait on the sideline. The time of possession was 36 minutes to 24. Not even as lopsided as I thought it was going to be. But that's what they do. They're going to keep your offense on the sideline, keep your defense on the field, and
that's what they want.
That's
what they want to do.
Absolutely. That's their game.
Yeah.
That's their game. All right. Finally, Super Region number 4. Man, we've been going at it for a while.
Yeah.
I love it, though. I fucking love it. Super Region number 4. We've got Colorado Mines. Hey, Augustana. Thanks for showing up.
Did they even make it to the game? Seems like they weren't even there.
Come on. But Colorado Mines, all jokes aside, they handled the Vikings from Augustana. And again, no discredit to this Augustana team. This is an outright NSIC champion in a conference that we've given a lot of credit to this year. We've seen the parity in this conference from top to bottom was great. Augustana, obviously, but
Augustana had a great year. They were a great team, yeah.
I think it just goes to show you the level that this Colorado Mines team is on. 56-10 was the final, by the way, if you did not tune into this one.
Nuts for a...
I can't wrap my head
this
around
isn't
it.
a first round of the playoffs anymore.
Second round of the playoffs.
So that's just nuts to me.
We do have a couple scenes here from the game day environment out there in Golden, Colorado.
Nice and snowy.
That's second round of playoff weather right there, dude. These people, the
Mines, the
Ordigger faithful. Look at this guy. We might have to listen to him, by the way. The way he talks about John Matoka is hilarious. I might have to find the soundbite. But this Ordigger defense, I think, is the biggest reason they're much better. I shouldn't say much better. I think it's the biggest reason they're improved so much from last year.
That their defense is actually...
Their front seven is a lot more competent, and they would stand a much better chance against a team like Ferris State. And by the way, there's Max McCloud with just another big-time touchdown. He is a stud. Wait, okay. We got to hear this kid. We got to hear this kid talk about Matoka. It is hilarious. I wonder where it starts.
NCAA record most touchdowns? Get out of here! Not D2, not D3, D1 of all time. That's John Matoka. He's a comp sci. They got a brain. That's a unit. And he has a stash. Look at the stash.
And he has a stash.
This is unit, he says. And he's got a stash. Not D3, not D2. By the way, wait, that's electric. We're watching the game from our balcony?
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's so sick. I did not know they did that over there. Why is that so cool to me? Also,
no, that is cool.
I love that, dude.
That sweatshirt's sweet. Digger Nation.
That is dope. This has got to be one of the best scenes in college football, man. Check that out.
Did you see the tweets? I don't remember who posted it. Obviously, someone from Mines, that they had to plow the field multiple times. Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, not much to say on this one, man. Colorado Mines is very much that team. And like I said, their front seven, I think, is the difference for them. You talk about when they got to the national championship last year, and they did not fare well against Ferris State.
No.
Because Ferris State lives by that GLIAC motto of we're going to win in the trenches and then go from there. Their offensive line was one of the best units I've seen in covering football. And Division II, one of the best I've seen, right?
Yeah.
Mines didn't have that, right? Their offense was very high powered. John Matoka, Max McCloud, and other contributors, Roper out of the backfield, Noah Roper, and some of those guys. But they didn't have on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I don't think they could stack up with a team like that. I think this year, not saying they're there, like they didn't make this jump, but they didn't have to.
Yeah.
They were already so talented. They didn't need to make this jump. They needed to make this jump and just close the gap. I think they've done a good job of that. I think it's a credit to their coaching staff, their development with their players that are currently there. Because this isn't a team that's chock full of transfers. These are guys that have been there for multiple years that are developing, and a lot of guys who have taken their 5th year that have come back because they believe in this program out there in Golden. Shout out to them, man. I think it's a shout out to a credit again, once again, to their coaching staff, their player development to shore up some of those areas that they addressed, I'm sure, in the offseason. But, man, this game was 28-10 at one point, and you're like, in the 3rd quarter, by the way. Not crazy.
Yeah.
Augustana wouldn't score another point. And it was kind of crazy, too, is Augustana, their worst games have come in kind of these not ideal conditions. We saw their game against Wayne State, their one loss, or no. Did they end up losing that game?
I don't remember.
I'm trying to think. Or they won it closely, I believe. I got to double check. But it was one of their tougher games on the year. I'm double checking because now I'm all mixed up. Yeah, I believe they did. Yes, at Wayne State they lost 14-12. It was like a blizzard game.
Yeah.
And that was like one of their tougher games. And in the Northern Sun, you'd think those teams are like bred to perform in those kind of moments.
Yeah.
It's funny that in those kind of environments have been 2 of their tougher games, especially offensively. Mine certainly had no problem throwing the rock all over the damn field. And now, with their opponent next week, Central Washington, still dancing after the win at Bemidji, man.
They just want to keep proving us wrong.
They love it. And you know what? I'm here for it. Central Washington, you've proved us wrong twice. My challenge to you, do it again, because this mine team is going to be really tough. But let's take a look at their win over Bemidji State. And if you notice, Trev, a lot of these highlights at the beginning of this thing, it's all Beavers. Great uni combo, by the way. These black unis from the Beavers.
Those are clean, yeah.
Badass. Right on the water.
They have a cool stadium right on the water.
Really cool setup. Really cool setup. But you will notice, like I said, all these highlights early on are going to be from the Beavers. Obviously, some big plays maybe here or there, but there's a big-time sack. It felt like Bemidji State was certainly rolling in this one. And then Central Washington, credit to them, they come around and turn the tide in this in a very, very big way. And that I didn't expect that. I didn't see this as a team, again, that feel like they could crawl their way from behind in one of these type of contests. They go on to win 21-17 going into the it looks like here.
Was it in the 4th quarter?
I think it was third. I think it was the 3rd quarter. I could be wrong. I got to check. No. Bemidji scored all their points in the 1st quarter. I had it mixed up. I'm thinking Alma. I was thinking a totally different game. So Bemidji's up 17-0 after the 1st quarter. Central Washington scores 14. So they go into halftime 17-14. They'd score one more touchdown in the 3rd quarter, and nobody scored in the 4th.
Wow.
What a game. That's a dot, by the way, from Brandon Alt, who's one of the Harlan Hill potential nominees there. But yes, so now you're looking at a Bemidji State team at home that goes up 17-0. How does Central Washington respond? The same way they've done it in these last couple weeks, man. They continue to go out there and ball. Their defensive secondary, I think, stepped up big time. And, man, how many angles do we have over there with Bemidji? All the angles of that grab. That's kind of badass. I like it. And that's all the Bemidji. That's why. It's all Bemidji highlights. I didn't look at that before. My bad. But
we still hate. Someone's gonna be like, "Oh, you guys hate Central Washington, only showing Beaver highlights."
It sucks because obviously the host team,
they're gonna have the highlights.
In control of all the production and those kind of things. So they're the ones that usually post the highlights, and some of them are gracious enough to put the other teams in there. Sometimes not, especially when you lose.
Yeah,
sometimes it's tough to do that. Another streak that we definitely talk about, Tanner Volk for Central Washington, another interception in this game. He only needs I think 2 or 3 more to tie or break the NCAA record for single season interceptions. Wow. The dude is on a ridiculous tear this year.
That's nuts.
I don't really understand it. I'm going to pull up the kind of his season stats right here. The dude has been absolutely balling. He's first team all conference selection, obviously. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you look at here at his total interceptions. He's at 13 on the year, Trev.
That's nuts.
13 interceptions for the kid back there in the Wildcat defensive secondary. He's had 4 games, 4 multiple interception games.
So he's averaging a pick a game, though.
Yes.
That's nuts.
That is crazy. And these aren't all games against like terrible opponents. He had 2 picks against Angelo State, 2 picks against the UTPB team.
That's really good.
In the Lone Star Conference Championship, right? That we've seen their offense and Kenny Herstner over there that have been balling out. So, man, credit to this team, dude. They certainly are kind of the dark horse of this tournament right now, and I think Tanner's a really big part of that. He seems to be a pretty vocal leader for the squad over there. So they have a tall task this week, though. Hey, they have a tall task.
They don't have to play Montana Tech, though.
God damn. No, they do not. It seemed like a pretty similar environment out there in Colorado, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup. But that's all for D2. We were on that for a long time. It's gonna be a long episode. I'm fine with it. That's what we're here for. Let's move over to Jimmy Martin and Division 3. All right, the chaos was not limited to Division 2. Division 3 saw probably the biggest upset of the tournament this year and a ton of other great games. The man that went 7-1, 6-2 against the spread, I believe you said. Jimmy, he's back. What's up, dude?
Yes, sir. How we doing, Kobe? It's always good to be on the show. You know, I got my my Justin Fields jersey on. I'm going straight to US Bank Stadium tonight, right after the show.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Bears Vikings. So
as we look at the playoff bracket here, talk to me at least with the Elite Eight. Just initial reactions from this last round, man. Obviously, we've already talked to Carter earlier on in the episode, but that seems to be the biggest takeaway at this point.
We spoke on the phone earlier about this. I think Alma winning that game was like the upset of the year in all of college football. Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, JUCO, NAIA, like whatever you want to call it. No one saw that one coming, and except the people from Alma. I tell you what, like those guys believed in themselves because that's not a short task to go and beat one of the best programs in the country. Like, what was that stat you told me earlier? That was the first time I hadn't been to the national semifinal in like how many years? Like 20
Too
years
many.
or something
And
like
I'll find the stat. I'll pull it up as we're talking, but I do believe the year started with a 19. So I'll double check on that one to make sure we're up to date on that. But safe to say this is the first time in a long time that Mount Union has been in this position.
Yeah. I mean, again, they were my pick to come out of that side of the bracket to go to the championship.
Absolutely.
So, I was definitely shocked about that one, but look for them to bounce back next year. I mean, like no one wants to hear that from Mount Union, but I mean, this is a team that's going to be good for a really long time, like every year. So, but obviously big disappointment this season, but look for them to rebound next year.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy too, is you look at that and you think, for them to be in a position where that is a disappointment, right? That's kind of a privilege in itself, is that losing at this point in the playoffs after an incredible regular season, that this is a disappointment for Mount Union, which is crazy. But honestly, when you have the resume that they have and you have the history and the program, the tradition, that if you're not playing 15 games, then you haven't accomplished much over there, which is, it's a very high and maybe unreasonable expectation, but they've done it for a long time. And I can certainly see why people would be disappointed.
Yeah. There's definitely on a championship or bust type of basis over there.
Absolutely.
This year was a bust for them, unfortunately. So.
Yeah. What was, outside of the Mount Union contest, of course, we had Whitewater pulling out a pretty big win. Randolph-Macon went absurd offensively. La Crosse, a little bit of a slow start, but they come back and finish very strong. And then North Central, I mean, we'll get through all of them, but what else outside of that upset really stood out to you this weekend?
Nothing new with La Crosse. Like their signature move is to fall behind 14-0 and then kill you the rest of the game. They did that in the WIAC. I think Eau Claire had them up 14-0.
Okay.
I want to say Platteville had them up early. And then obviously they just stormed right back. And the same thing happened this weekend. Like you see, like, man, oh man, like this La Crosse offense is something else. I'll tell you what, like these kids, they can light up the scoreboard, and they're going to have to this week if they want to beat North Central. So definitely keep your eye on that Wisconsin La Crosse backfield, of course, with Kaiser Helterbrand, and then out wide with Jack Studer, who's a heck of a receiver over there for the Eagles.
That's huge, dude. And they obviously have the task this weekend with North Central coming in. But, I mean, just to talk a little bit more about that Aurora game, this was something that I know we posted a couple highlights over on our social media because it just didn't seem – and I guess now looking back at it, maybe we should have expected La Crosse to come out a little bit slow. But being at home against this Aurora squad that relied a lot on their defense last week in their win over Coe College, right, to help them kind of get over the hump there, I certainly did not see that coming. Are there any alarm bells for you or for anyone? Should they have any about the defense for La Crosse, or is that not really a concern at this point?
Okay, I'll say this, like I'll try a little bit lightly here because obviously we played against Lacrosse and like they have some really good players on their defense, but like scoring wise, they're not like the best defense out there. But I mean, obviously, any given Saturday, anything can happen. But I mean, I expect North Central to score a lot of points in this game. I think Lacrosse will keep it closer than the Hansen ratings say.
Okay.
A 20-point spread in this game.
Okay.
Next week. Over under is at 83.
83?
That's a surprise to nobody. I expected maybe even a little bit higher. These are the two best, arguably, I think in my opinion, the two best offenses in the country right now.
Okay.
So, I mean, 83 is a pretty fair number. It's huge, but I'm thinking this is going to be like a 49-38 kind of game. Like I think North Central will like go up early because obviously that's what happens to Lacrosse every time. And then Lacrosse will kind of like try like get back into it, fight, but like maybe just fall a little short. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm 20-4. So I mean, I'm not 100% with these picks, but I have a hard time seeing North Central losing next week.
This could certainly be a case though where it's like whoever has the ball last is the one that is ultimately going to come on top of it. It's going to be exciting to see that number though. That 80 is kind of ridiculous for this level of football, but I think like you said, it's warranted for these two squads that have showcased what they've been able to do. And just to talk about North Central, man, you have Trinity who comes in at, depending on what poll you're looking at, number 4 or number 6 in the country. This is outside of anything else. They put up 70 on them. Now, granted, it's on their home field. That's quite the trip for a Trinity team that's coming down from Texas. But this Trinity offense we've seen has been spectacular all year. Tucker Horn obviously has been kind of the one at the head of the spotlight, but there's so many playmakers offensively for that team that it felt like at times didn't even get a chance to get going. And I know generating turnovers for the Cardinals defense was huge. That was something that Trinity and Horn in particular haven't done a whole lot this year. North Central able to capitalize on that. I'm assuming that was kind of a big reason they were able to get out ahead early because that defense for Trinity, first of all, had a tall task to begin with, but second of all, they were on the field a hell of a lot early in this one.
You know, and what do we always say? Like, right? Time of possession and the turnover battle. If you win both of those things, there's almost a certainty that you'll win the football game.
Yeah.
North Central's really, really, really good at both of those things. Like, they're always generating turnovers on defense. They never turn the ball over on offense. And then obviously, when you have a run game as effective as theirs, the amazing offensive line led by our boy Rod, who came on the show, I believe, like back in January, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I remember 2 weeks ago when the bracket came out, I actually picked Lacrosse in this game, but I'm changing my pick. I just have to. North Central, dude, 71 points last week. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, it's ridiculous, dude.
And we've seen the efficiency that Luke Lennon has had through the air, but pulling up some of these highlights, you see it right there. He busts off like a 50-yard run on the ground, and I think that's a part of his game that maybe has been unappreciated. But it doesn't really matter when you have this offense, when you have these playmakers. I don't think it does, and we've seen him being able to do both. A credit, too, you kind of mentioned it, Gerard, obviously being one of our D1R athletes over here. Their offensive line play has been stellar. Like, you cannot have the stats that Lennon is having under center for the Cardinals right now if you are not protected every single play and you don't have the utmost confidence in that front 5, 6, whatever the personnel set kind of looks like. But North Central, to me, was obviously a very good football team, but they were also opportunistic as hell, man. Every time that Trinity made any kind of little mistake or potentially shot themselves in the foot, right here's a great example on a little fumble recovery, giving the defense or Trinity a short field. If you're going to allow this North Central offense to start on the 20-yard line, you're seeing exactly right there what the result's going to be, and that's a touchdown in probably less than one little series here. So it felt like a combination of North Central is very good and Trinity maybe not having the best showing ever. When you shoot yourself in the foot against an opponent of this caliber, this is kind of the result you can expect. But with that being said, 70 points is insane. And I would have never predicted that. As much as many people are high on this North Central team, I would have never predicted a 70 burger against this Trinity squad.
Yeah, 70 is bonkers. I mean, I wonder how many games this year have even had teams had 70 points. I know Platteville scored 80. I know one game. There's a couple like wilds. There's like a 98-0 game too, but 71.
Yeah, like there's certainly been some high scores. This has got to be the highest in the playoffs. Like not even close.
Yeah. I mean, Hopkins had 62 last week, but that's obviously not bigger than 71. I was actually trying to look here for if I could see points off turnovers, but it's not in like the box.
I got you. Yeah.
I have to imagine it was like almost like 21 or like 28 or something.
The NCAA box score, the way they do it is kind of tough too. It's not as good as when you go to like the sidearm kind of look from the team official websites. But you can see here, like early in the game, it's 14-7 at this point as we're pulling up the highlights and just kind of watching through. And it felt like Trinity, obviously, very much still in this one. They force a punt. You saw a sack right there defensively. The front seven getting a little bit of pressure. And then they're going to get the ball back offensively on North Central side of the field, can complete a couple passes. And at this point early on in the game, it kind of felt like to someone just watching it that, okay, this is going to be a dogfight. This is going to be back and forth, and there will probably be 2 to 3 big-time plays. They're going to go and tie it up right here about halfway through the first quarter. It felt like there were going to be 2 or 3, kind of those decisive plays that would decide it. And I don't know what the change was. I'm sure, like I said, the turnovers had a big part to do with it, but that certainly was not the case. Like, they just ran away with this one.
Yeah, and that should be a surprise to nobody. I mean, as good as Trinity is, North Central is not a Division III football team. Look around the roster. I mean, it's just some of these kids are just, they could be playing in probably Division I football, like FBS football. So
that's high praise. That's high praise. Now, with that being said, with Mount Union out of the picture, it feels like everyone right now is so quick to be like, why watch the rest of the playoffs? Like, North Central's just going to win it all again. Should they be that confident and that all in on this North Central squad? Or, I mean, I know that they're the overwhelming favorite, but there's got to still be a little bit of confidence left in the field, yes?
Yeah, but I mean, so lacrosse is the #1 seed in this tournament, if I'm
Which
correct.
Is wild, yeah.
And
in the
they're
region.
a 20-point underdog this week.
Yeah.
So you tell me. You tell me who I think is going to win the national championship.
There's one of those
Again,
takeaways defensively for North Central right there. But I hear you, man. And that's like those numbers are ridiculous. But you're right. They're there for a reason. And that's, that's not someone who's a homer making those ratings. That's analytics. That's numbers and metrics that are just computing out and pushing out whatever it is. So we'll see. But that's why we strap it up and play the game, though, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, that's big. It was quite the game, man. It was a fun game to watch. Obviously, towards the end, not the way maybe we saw it going out there, but still a pretty fun one on its own. But looking towards the other side of the bracket, let's talk about that Alma Mount Union matchup in a little bit more specificity here. And I think we can probably start with that last play and then work our way backwards. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, the pop pass. I don't know. Did they have like a nickname for that play yet? You know how there's like the Minneapolis Miracle or something? I feel like
at this point in time, I know in the episode it's happened yet, but I have Carter coming on late. I have to still record the interview, so that'll be one of my questions: is if they have like the Scott pass maybe or something. You know what I mean? Like something funny like that.
If I had a question to ask him, I would have also asked that. And then obviously Carter St. John being one of our players of the week this week.
Yeah,
303 yards passing and 3 touchdowns against maybe the best defense in the country. I would maybe say North Central is also, but again, Mount Union had only been allowing I want to say 10 points a game leading up to this one. So, I mean, throwing for 300 and 3 touchdowns against Mount Union is just maybe one of the best performances of the year we've seen.
Absolutely. And he's won our Player of the Week honors during the regular season. The dude has been balling out this year. And, part of that might be the lack of strength of schedule for Mount Union coming out of that conference. I know their commanding win over John Carroll was probably their statement win inside of the OAC. But other than that, man, who do they play? And I think that's part of the reason why the expectations are so high for the Purple Raiders, because they have just owned that conference for so long. And, at this point, could you point the finger to that being one of the reasons why they struggled in one of these contests? Because they don't see this level of competition throughout the year. And that's not to say that Alma plays in the best conference either. They didn't play a whole lot of competitive games. Their game over Hope was probably more of their statement win for that MIAA title. But, looking at that last little series as they got close to the end of the game there, and here it is, man, that little pop pass. And I'm gonna play that one a couple times. I got to go back and just hit this. You'll see here, quick pass to the outside, and they get it going. And I believe before the pop pass, they ran it 2 or 3 times right up the middle, correct?
Yeah, I want to say so.
Yeah, and then right there, I mean, you see it, man. That just little Carter St. John. He didn't have to sell it too much either. If you look, I'm going to just pause it, grabs it, takes just a few steps forward. I thought the sell could have probably been better, but when you see Mount Union here, every single one of them collapsed. This guy coming off the outside here on the left side is trying to collapse in and stop the run, and this dude is wide ass in the end zone. That is heartbreak on so many levels for that Mount Union squad.
Yeah, just unfortunate. And then I have an interesting stat from this game. I think it might, because considering all of what we talked about before, Mount Union won the time of possession 40-20.
Damn.
Yeah, but they did lose the turnover battle though.
Yep.
So I think that definitely probably was the dagger for them. But I mean, when you have the ball for 20 more minutes than the other team, like typically you're going to win that football game. But
yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a metric that, like you said, usually is a kind of a fail-safe to know, what team is going to come out on top. As we've seen, not always the case. But you see right here, one of those turnovers right there, that interception in the end zone, and that was in the first quarter, which after the first quarter, if you remember, this game was scoreless. So Purple Raiders coming down in the first quarter, threatening to score and get ahead early. Alma stops that drive, and I think that ended up being crucial for them because when you come out of the first quarter scoreless, I think what that does for an Alma team that obviously knows they're the underdog in this situation, all of a sudden you're sitting there on the sideline and you're like, not that they didn't have confidence before, but like, holy shit, guys, we can hang with these guys and we can win this game. Like, again, all the dudes are going to have confidence heading into the game. I know that. We've played the sport. We know that. But when you are at a point in the game like that where you actually see it happening, your confidence doubles down. And now all of a sudden, I think Alma comes out with a little bit of a different fire. Now, offensively, we didn't see that fire till the fourth quarter. They scored, 24 unanswered?
Yeah. I mean, that's just one of those games. I have to go back and look, but this is probably the biggest win in program history.
Man, I would have to believe so. And again, I'd have to go back and actually check. And now there's probably some other ones that certainly are up there with the history and tradition of this program. But shit, I'd be willing to put this above almost all of them.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. And obviously with Mount Union, it comes to an end, a couple storied careers, guys like Braxton Plunk and Wayne Ruby and those kind of big names that we've seen out of Mount Union, but so many more guys that this was kind of their last crack at it as a Purple Raider. And in that stretch to not be able to get the job done is got to be tough for them. It's with such a star-studded roster. There's Ruby right there with a little bit of a toe tap on the sideline, and it's just so much talent on that squad. The fact that they weren't able to pull this one in was really surprising. And now Alma gets to host this next week, which is crazy. And they announced that regionally that they're going to have Cortland come into town. This is going to be an exciting one for the Scots.
Yeah, and I think they're going to keep this rolling. I'm going to go with Alma on this one. They're -4. I thought it was interesting. The over/under for this game is 68.
Really?
That was like weirdly high. I think I'm going to go under and then Alma -4 in this one. I'm going to go like 27-21.
Okay.
I think Cortland puts up a really good fight. They got a really good team. But man, oh man, I expected more out of them last week against Grove City. I think that was a little too close for me to be able to pick them this week. But again, could be wrong. I'm not perfect, but I'm looking to keep up the hot streak at 24.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Let's talk a little bit about that Cortland Grove City matchup. We talked with Zach Boys last week about how his squad has kind of been the anti-Cinderella run, right? They take down Endicott. Now they got a chance to take down Grove City, who is such a feel-good story heading into this pro season. Not only were they a feel-good story, they were playing really good football, beating a Susquehanna squad that nobody expected that result. And now they come into Cortland, and it comes down to just the final seconds of this game. So when you look at this Cortland squad obviously is going to put up quite the fight against Alma, but here's kind of the breakdown of the ending of that one for those who weren't able to watch. Grove City scores. Cortland has the ball, driving down to score and make something happen here. They trail by 7 points. And here they are in the red zone. There's Zach Boys, who we had the privilege of having on the show just last week. Finds the running back out of the backfield, makes his way towards the pylon, and now they're a little short on that one. I do believe they punch it in right here, right up the gut. They do. So now what you're looking at is kick the extra point to tie the game or go for 2 for the lead. Cortland at home, typically you see people on the road do this. At home, they elect to go for 2 points. And here's the 2-point play. He rolls out to the right side and a little bit of a cross-the-body pass covered by 2 defenders. That is like, as a quarterback, you're not supposed to make that throw, right? Rolling out one way, throwing across your body. if anyone could do it, it's Zach Boyes. He finds the window right there and finds him. So now Cortland's up. They lead. They go for the kickoff now. And I thought they would have gone for a little bit of squib or something here, maybe to try and run some more clock. But with 1:20 left, Grove City has all the time in the world to try and come back. And, I mean, they'll work our way to the kind of the ending here, man. But this contest, like you said, was a lot closer than we imagined.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I think the key for Cortland this coming week, if they do want to win this game, I think if they can score 30 points, they will win this game. I think 30 is their magic number. I have them scoring 21 right now. But again, the fact that Alma held Mount Union to 20 points, that's astounding to me. I think Alma, man, oh man. That 68-point over-under is just astounding to me. I have no idea how that's that high. But again,
I don't see it either. This is a Cortland defense that certainly has played with some of the best of them this year. This has not been a case of, just a really good offense. I think this Cortland defense has stepped up when they needed to. And you'll see here, 13 seconds left for Grove City now. And they complete this pass, which was kind of a questionable one for me. Now, they do have all their timeouts, which I was very confused why they weren't using those in that last drive. But then this sets up the field goal. I believe it was a 37-yarder for Grove City on the road to win their second ever playoff game in program history against a really solid Cortland squad. It had the leg, Jimmy, but it was left. And this place erupts. Yes, that's the sign. That's the sign. And I think the cameraman here pans over to the Dragon, the mascot. You can see him on the bottom of the screen. There he is. He was one of our top 10 mascots in D3. He was a track star on the sideline after the kick. I love it, dude. And I didn't get to see the end zone view, so here's the end zone view. That did not miss by much, maybe 5 to 10 feet.
Brutal.
Unreal. But, Cortland gets into victory formation, and that's that for that contest, dude. That was, I mean, Grove City's had 2 of the best endings in the playoffs so far this year. Unfortunately, they were only on the right side of one of the 2.
Yeah, and I don't know if you see what jersey I'm wearing, but as a Bears fan, I can relate deeply to the sorrow of Grove City football fans in terms of missed kicks in the playoffs. I don't know if you guys remember anyone named Cody Parkey.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Oh, by the way, this is a Justin Fields jersey, not Parkey, because Parkey did wear number 1. I just want to clarify.
Are you serious?
This is not a Cody Parkey jersey.
I did not know that, actually. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I had to specify.
Yeah, but as far as some other games to cover, obviously we've touched a lot on the top side of the bracket, but looking towards the bottom here, just quickly on Randolph-Macon, man. 46-0 over an Ithaca squad that I thought was pretty red hot heading into this thing. Had some really great games. Played Cortland very close in the Cortica Jug game. Now, that is a rivalry, so you expect that, but 46-zip for this Yellow Jacket squad. I certainly didn't see it coming. I'm assuming you didn't either.
No, I did not at all. However, I did pick Randolph-Macon to win this game, but just, 48 or 46, whatever it was, absurd. That's just, kind of an atrocious performance on the other end. I don't want to say that. What do you think Ithaca's coaches are saying to them?
Honestly, what in that case, what do you say? I don't know. And I've had the chance to know Coach Torper very well, who's over. He recruited me to Ithaca when I was coming out of high school. He wasn't the head coach at the time. Now, to see him take over the reins, I'll tell you right now, I'm not surprised at all by that choice from them. He's probably the epitome of a great leader over there. But with that being said, I would love to know what he said at halftime or what he had to say after the game. And, they still won a playoff game. They still made it into the dance. They still won their conference over there. And there's a lot of things to be proud of. But at the end of the day, man, to go out on that note, not only with a loss, but in a dominant performance from the other sideline, I don't know what you say in that instance.
Yeah, it's tough. I think the deciding factor in this game, there's a lot of things, but personally for me, I think the fact that Randolph-Macon ran for 388 yards.
Yes.
That was my player of the week, is just the entire Randolph-Macon backfield. Just gotta tip the cap to all the backs over there. I know. But they could almost got 400, not quite 400, but that's still pretty good.
Yeah, and touching on, we'll go over to Johns Hopkins and Union, and I actually was tuning into this one. I watched just about all the way up until around the third quarter. And so going into the third quarter, 22-14 Johns Hopkins, and you thought, this Union team, I was impressed. Admittedly, I was impressed. They kept fighting on the road, actually, against a very good Blue Jays squad over there. But I'm watching this game and going into the third quarter, and I'm giving all the credit in the world to Union for sticking around because I certainly didn't expect that. I thought Johns Hopkins would have pulled away. They ended up doing it. It just wasn't as early as maybe I expected. Jimmy, the fourth quarter, these guys outscored them. I got to do a little bit of math here. 17-0 in the fourth quarter, Johns Hopkins. And that's a couple touchdowns, one of which from Ugla, who I know we talked about a little bit last week. He heard our message for sure. But in the fourth quarter, to outscore someone 17-0 and just put an exclamation point on a little bit of a really nice win right there for this Johns Hopkins squad, I think that's really telling, and it leads them with a lot of great momentum heading into this next week's matchup.
Yeah, certainly so. And then obviously, with our boy Spencer, we're talking about how he had like 200 plus yards rushing, no touchdowns. But then this week, 68 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. So
he flipped the script on us.
He heard us. And then he had 97 scrimmage yards. He had an extra like 29 receiving on top of that 68 rushing. So hell of a game. He's earned himself player of the week back-to-back weeks. So good
I love it, dude. Now
that
one,
obviously,
go ahead.
Look for that next week's like the battle of the 2 rushing attacks now with Johns Hopkins and Randolph Macon too.
And that's a weird thing you get into because now you're like, okay, if you let a team get going like that and they stay on the field, they sustain drives, your offense can't be on the field at the same time. That's how football works, right? So which one is gonna be out there longer? And I don't know how they'll decide that one, but it could be a really interesting matchup as well. But I think our last piece to cover would be that Wartburg and Whitworth contest.
Yeah, Wartburg kind of just like ran away with this one. I mean,
which I think we expected.
But yeah, got to tip the cap to Whitworth for showing up, battling. I mean, this is probably like a 99%er kind of a game. I mean, then that's not even a shot at Whitworth either. I just have a tremendous amount of respect for Wartburg and their program and how effective they've been over the last few years. And then obviously the Wartburg Whitewater matchup. Now we have this. That was the dream matchup, because now we have North Central Lacrosse and then Wartburg and Whitewater. It's just that's a heck of a group of 4 teams right there.
Yeah. And I think for me, the biggest thing from this Wartburg squad is the fact that they didn't let this team hang around. I feel like they got on top of it, and this was what you'd call maybe a wire-to-wire win for the Knights over there. And I think that says a lot about the program and where they're at as a squad. And also the all-black unis, by the way, are clean as hell. I do want to say that, too. I love the unis from them. But this team, man, I think there's a lot of really good positives from this Wartburg squad. And like you said, this matchup now next week is going to be very entertaining from a Whitewater team that seems to be clicking offensively at all the right times. Now, for Wartburg, I do believe, is it Owen Grover is the linebacker that's one of the semifinalists for the Gagliardi Trophy. He's just the kind of the staple point of this front seven for the Knights. They've stepped their game up quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see if they can stop Tamir Thomas and that Whitewater rushing attack.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see and find out. I mean, obviously, but this is the game I've had the hardest time picking who's going to win because, obviously, like I said earlier, I have a tremendous amount for Wartburg, but obviously you got Whitewater as well. So it's a 2.5 point spread. Whitewater's favored by 2.5. I think Wartburg will cover, but Whitewater will win. I know that's like a crazy thing to say, but I think this is going to be like a 1 or a 2 point game. I really do.
Maybe 21-20, like 28-27 type of game. But man, oh man, this was definitely the game I had the hardest time picking. And then the over-under being 54, which is pretty low considering, I mean, these are both 2 really good offenses, but again, 2 really good defenses as well. As weird as this may sound, I'm going to go under 54. I know 54 is kind of a low point total for a college game, especially with these 2 really good offenses.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, Whitewater pulls it out, I think. Whitewater will pull it out. Just barely, though.
Fair enough. One final look at kind of the Elite 8 here as we finish it up, man, and it's gonna be a tough one. If the way that you see it pans out, then we'll have our North Central Whitewater matchup in the semis, and then on the other side of things, Johns Hopkins and you said Alma is kind of your picks.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna roll with Randolph Macon in that one.
Okay, Randolph Macon, my bad. Okay.
Yep. So for these games, just for the public that I'm telling the truth about these records and everything, going North Central, Whitewater, Alma, and Randolph Macon. I'm going to try to go 4-0 this week. And we'll see.
Yeah.
If
covering college football at all tells me anything, it's that you will not go 4-0 and some crazy shit will happen. But hey, you never know. The last week certainly disappoint. This one I'm sure won't either. But Jimmy, I appreciate you, dude. It's been awesome. I'm excited for this next week. This is
always.
going to be ridiculous, dude. This weekend's going to be wild.
Dude, yes. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be so sweet. I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Enjoy the game tonight.
Will do. Will do.
Yeah.
Hey, bear down, baby. Bear down.
Absolutely. See you,
All
bro.
right.
To finish off the episode, had some more potential chaos on the NAIA side of things here. We'll break it all down, but Matt is going to do the majority of it. What's up, dude? How are you?
What's up? I'm chilling, man. It was another weird weekend of NAIA playoff football. Obviously, going from 4 games the week before to 8 is kind of a weird adjustment.
It's a super weird dynamic, and that's what I was thinking about on Saturday. Is like it's just very backwards, and it felt wrong. But more football is more football.
Yeah, it's more football at the end of the day. Can't really complain about that. But if you like high-scoring games, you might have been complaining about Dordt Northwestern this weekend. Battle for the Walmart in Orange City.
Yes.
Holy cow! Final score, by the way, it was 7-0. That was the final, not end of first quarter, not end of half. Like that was the whole game. Dordt had Northwestern's number for most of the day. Jalen Gramstead, who is one of the best dual threats in the entire country, held to under 100 yards rushing and passing for probably the first time this season. He was like 70 yards passing and 20 yards rushing. It was kind of insane. Northwestern obviously going 2 for 10 on third down also. Dordt controlled the ball for a good chunk of the game. Obviously, time of possession favored Dordt 36-23.
That's big.
They're very good at doing that with the triple option, just could not squeak it out. Dordt ended up having a couple turnovers. They had a fumble in the red zone and then turnover on downs in the red zone that ultimately cost them. But they were this close. They were this close, Kobe. They were this close to doing it.
Yeah, man. And it feels like, too, you talk about the time of possession, that's like almost as valuable as when you talk about a guy like that and the offensive numbers he's been able to put up. Like we talked about Devin Garrison earlier, the tight end for Pittsburgh State and the D2 side of things. Like you're never going to completely take them out of a game. Like you're never going to stop Steph Curry from scoring a point in the NBA. What you can do is draw up a game plan to try and limit their contributions in the game. And I think the best way to limit a guy like that is how about just keep him off the fucking field? Leave him on the sideline.
Yeah.
And let's maintain possession of the rock throughout almost the entire game. If he's on the sideline, the last time I checked, he cannot make plays through the air or on the ground. So it seems to be a pretty stout game plan from Dordt. And damn it almost worked.
Yeah, last time I checked, you can't really do that if you're not on the field. So, yeah, and the only points of the game were scored like 10 minutes into the game in the first quarter, and then that was it. It was just nothing after that. But obviously, both teams played incredible defense, and honestly, I was super impressed with Dordt. Not that I expected this to be a blowout, but I kind of expected Northwestern to handle them similarly to how they did earlier in the year. But credit to Dordt, man. They've had a hell of a season, obviously ending shorter than they wanted to, but they have a lot to build off of for the next year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think building off that, I had a quick clip that I wanted to show here of their head coach kind of speaking after the loss and just on the positives and of the, the culture that he's built there, and not just him, obviously, but his entire staff and the player base that is bought in. But I'll play that real quick for these people to listen to because I thought it was worthwhile. It's only 30 seconds long here.
Left a legacy. When you're building a program, you want it to happen at once. You want it to all come together. There's a quote that I try to live by, and it says, it's not about who's the toughest, it's who's the toughest the longest. And I think that's what I see in our team. We have 4 or 5 players graduating on the entire starting 22. Dordt defenders are going to be back stronger than ever for next year.
Dordt defenders are going to be back stronger than ever next year. That's kind of the big takeaway there, and I love it's not about who's tougher, it's about who's tougher longer. And I think that is just a perfect demonstration of this squad. And like you mentioned, only 4 or 5 of that starting 22, whether it be offense or defense, is coming back for Dordt. And obviously an emotional loss there, but I think their goals and aspirations still remain the same. There's still a lot of big things on the horizon for that squad. And, it felt like, on the flip side of things, not maybe to play devil's advocate a little bit, it felt like if there was a window, it might have to be right now for Dordt, but who knows? You know what I mean? We don't know what everything's going to look like 6 to 8 to 12 months from now.
Absolutely. And like you said, they bring back so many players that it's definitely like they're still in their window right now.
Yep.
Obviously knocking off Morningside, finishing the season the way they did is a good first start. Obviously winning a playoff game, huge for them. And just as somebody who played against this Dort program, like they are very hard workers. They've been kind of building towards this for a while. Certainly while I was playing at Dakota Wesleyan in the G-Pack, they were kind of felt like they were slowly working their way up, and they finally took the step up. So good to see from them. But obviously Northwestern's going to move on, #1 team in the country there. So
yeah, bring us on down to Florida, a team that has, is trying to capitalize on their window, and they think their window is very much still open down there in Kaiser, and what they're able to do this on Saturday.
Yeah, Kaiser and St. Thomas, obviously, and what was pretty much a run the ball game like the whole time. Rontavious Farmer for St. Thomas had almost 250 yards rushing, and Jaden Mazinger for Kaiser also almost had 200 yards rushing. Absolutely beautiful game on the ground and in the trenches. Kaiser obviously just kind of out muscling St. Thomas to an extent, and St. Thomas got out the gate hot, but kind of just faltered. It can be hard to keep up that pace. They scored all 21 points in the first quarter, so they were sitting pretty for a while, but you start that fast and that emotional, you gotta cover that for 3 more quarters.
Yeah, that too. And then you see there on the clip that I'm showing right now, you're up 21-10. Kaiser looking for any opportunity to claw their way back, and you have an interception on already what is a short field, and you're on your own 10-yard line. If you're St. Thomas, that's a play you cannot afford to give up. And I think defensively for them, plays like that help them get back into it. And then obviously, you let a team like Kaiser get back into it. You give them any reason to capitalize right there. The strip sack and the fumble recovery, man. Like any good team, which, by the way, there's only, 16 teams left at that point, so all of them are damn good teams. You give them any reason like that, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and when you look down, when it comes down to it, looking at the box score, obviously St. Thomas only getting 1 for 8 on 3rd down. That's going to kill you. Those big plays aren't going to sustain you forever, and that's just kind of what the tail of the tape was. Kaiser obviously staying the course, not getting too shaken. This is a scary Kaiser team, man. They're looking good. They're still in their window, certainly.
Yeah, they are, and I think what adds to that too is the fact that we've talked about a lot of teams today that maybe are in a little bit of a different position, and the fact that they've never been here before. Well, guess what? This team has, and they've done it very recently, and there's a lot of guys in this team that have a ton of playoff experience playing in these kind of environments. So I think that's one of the scariest things moving forward for these guys. That being said, there's a lot of teams left remaining that also have equal, if not more, experience than these guys, which is what's going to make these next couple rounds super fun.
Absolutely. I would mention, too, keep your eyes on Jaden Mazinger. Obviously, I mentioned him for having a 245-yard day and a few touchdowns to his name. This guy did the same thing last postseason. Absolutely, just rose to the occasion, played his best football in the postseason. Looks like he's doing the same thing again. This is definitely a guy that will be a key contributor if Kaiser is going to make a title run this year. Excited to see what he does.
Hell yeah, dude. I like that. And we took a look at the Harding blocked field goal, or not even field goal, the PAT to finish things off in Super Region 3 and Division 2. A little bit of the same flavor, maybe a different entree. Indiana Wesleyan up 24-21 over Morningside in a game that was just incredibly back and forth, and we'll just take a look at how this one ended up for the Wildcats. Thankfully, I think they're going to be feeling pretty good about this one.
Bryson Wilkie from 40 yards. It was tipped and no good. Indiana Wesleyan wins. And it just comes down to the little thing.
Just a tough,
and here's the
tough way to close out the game from 40 yards. If that ball doesn't get tipped, he certainly has the leg, and it looked like he had the alignment as well. And I mean, if you're Morningside, it's a really tough loss to stomach. I will say that environment over there at Indiana Wesleyan, there ain't jack shit going on in a 15-mile radius outside of that campus, but that stadium is electric. It's almost brand new, and that place is awesome, Matt. I don't know if you've had the chance to be over there in person.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to be over there in person, but I remember them announcing the new facilities they were putting in and all that stuff not too long ago. There's a lot of money being pumped into this Indiana Wesleyan program, and it's paying dividends. They have really nice facilities. They have a great home environment, and it kind of helps that there's nothing going on. I mean, I feel like you could say that about most NAIA schools in the area. It's just kind of in the middle of nowhere.
That is weird how they kind of fit that demographic, if you will. The more you think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, the ones that I kind of looked at or talked to coming out of high school, I'm like, man, that's kind of was in the con column of all these places.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to do besides play football, which is why there's such good football played in these parts. So, but yeah, really back and forth game. Morningside, obviously, I said don't count these guys out until they're done, and obviously, like a blocked field goal is what's going to do it. It takes literally, perfectly executed field goal block to knock these guys out. Great game from both sides. Honestly, this was just a slugfest back and forth, teams putting up points. Morningside just kind of petered out at the end, though. Obviously, Indiana Wesleyan able to score in the fourth quarter to ultimately put it away. And Morningside's dual quarterback system helped him out, but Lennox Brown throwing 2 picks is not ideal for the Sporting Side team that's operating at a usually high level on offense.
We talk about turnovers so damn much on this show. You would think at some point, maybe people would think that they're important. It's like every game that we talk about is like, man, this was it. But he had a couple of interceptions, or there was a fumble recovery or whatever. But an offense that did, I think, a pretty good job of taking care of the ball. In Bethel, and their routing of Evangel down there, 40 burger up against those guys, that offense is looking pretty scary right now.
Yeah, and look, man, narratives for me are thriving. I'm very high on this Bethel team. I mention it every time we talk about them. In SP Plus, they're top 4 in both offense and defensive metrics in the entire country. Absolutely incredible showing from Bethel, who handled a very good Evangel team who we knew was on the come up and made do of their KCAC schedule and looks good doing it. Bethel's on an absolute roll right now.
It's got to feel really good to be a part of that squad. And like I said, offensively, when you're able to put up those kind of numbers, I don't think their defense has had to be the calling card for them at many times this year. When they have, they've stepped up, so obviously a credit to them. But I think the weight has certainly been off their shoulders a lot. It will be interesting to see, over these next couple rounds, obviously a matchup with Kaiser in this next round, as it seems, could be a case of more of a shootout style contest. We'll see which defense steps up and gets the stop where they need to. A lot of bend, don't break mindset in both those squads. So we'll see what happens when they're faced with that kind of adversity. But I wanted to talk a little bit about a Grandview squad that, speaking of adversity, has actually not encountered any this entire year for the most part. And is part of that due to their schedule? Maybe. But then you go and you think about some of these teams that they've put beatdowns on, and the most recent of which being Dickinson State in that 28-3 routing. And I'm looking towards, this year, obviously. And week 3 at home against Baker, a team that we've talked about quite a bit on this show, 24-zip. I did not realize that result was that one-sided. A Mid-America Nazarene team that actually had some pretty quality wins this year, it seemed. But this team just has not encountered any adversity. Is that, I'm assuming, just goes to show that they're on another upper tier than this couple of the other squads.
Pretty much. They've been on an absolute roll. And the key difference from this Grandview team from years past is their offense is absolutely unreal. Obviously, Jackson Waring throwing for 200 yards, 4 touchdowns to his name. This is usually a Grandview team that leans on its defense very heavily from what we've seen in years past, and they play style of offense that's, keep the ball out of the defense's hands rather than go and score points. They have not held any punches this year. They have the weapons to go score. They do it as much as possible. And when you're in the playoffs and a 28-3 result is like the second closest game you've played all season, like it is just unreal. And Grandview's defense, like, not to take away from their defense, they're still very good. Braden Zuroff, for Dickinson State, who has been their workhorse, only had 47 yards on the ground. That's the guy who's averaging like 100, 150 plus pretty much the entire year, and Grandview just shut him down completely.
And their opponent in this next round, talk about College of Idaho, their victory over Montana Western, obviously tough to beat a team twice, especially a team in the frontier of that caliber. They win by 2 the first time, and guess what? They win by 2 the second time as well. The margin of victory, 7. My math is just not mathing today. But 1-score game, obviously, in each of those contests, and that is incredibly impressive. And I think, for me, although they do have to travel to Grandview, which is going to be a huge part of that game, the adversity, if we want to stay kind of on that talking point for these couple squads, you talk about the adversity that this College of Idaho team has faced throughout the entire year. And part of that does just come with being in the Frontier Conference, as I'm starting to understand, because we talk more and more about this particular group of squads every single week. But when you look at their schedule and the gauntlet that they've gone through against the teams like Montana Western and Tech, even squads like Carroll, Southern Oregon, those kind of teams that have been dogfights for them that haven't been pretty, and they've had to step up on both sides of the ball. I certainly like the fact that they've been on the wrong side of a couple games. They've had to claw their way back into it, and they've finished on the wrong side of a couple games. Their record, unlike Grandview, is not perfect. So while Grandview, I'm assuming, still would be a very heavy favorite in this one just because of the consistency that they've been able to showcase, I like the fact that College of Idaho is not uncomfortable, maybe not starting out on top.
Absolutely. This is a team that has kind of earned their stripes a little bit. They've taken their licks. They've learned a lot of lessons this season and still been able to come out on top. Like it's pretty good to see, because obviously a lot of teams in this situation with 2 losses would be looking on the outside of the playoff. Obviously, and not winning the Frontier outright to this Montana Western team. Something to be said for an at-large bid, and maybe those extra 4 seats helped them out. But either way, like, they are proving that they belong. This was, premier Frontier after dark craziness. I mean, College of Idaho was up 28-7.5. Montana Western stormed back. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Ugh.
But College of Idaho had 14 in the fourth quarter of their own to put it away. It was, I would say, brawl, but there was so much passing. It wasn't really, down and dirty. It was just a freaking fireworks show, dude.
Pac-12's gone. We need some more late
no
action
kidding
from these squads. Someone's got to step up.
Someone has to. Don't remind me of that, by the way. I'm very sad about it. So we always have the Frontier, so it's fine.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. And to move to get out of the Frontier, St. Xavier and Marion, they go back and forth in a game that, although it was a 10-point game, I felt like this was a really back and forth one, and one that I thought for a little stretch Marion might actually come out and be out on top of. But St. Xavier, they end up pulling out the win in this one.
Yeah, I have to give St. Xavier their flowers. I had a lot of questions about this squad going into the playoffs, and obviously having some weird losses to their name early on in the season. It's always hard to tell how they're going to take their momentum into the postseason, but I mean, heck, you get it done against the Marion squad, who traditionally wins these games. Like, it's a big testament to the coaching and just the improvements guys have made. Stuart Ross, the guy that's been around the St. Xavier program for a long time, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns to his name. He's their leader on offense. He's getting it done for them. And there's just, this St. Xavier team could continue to make noise.
And that's the benefit of the play-in and having these other at-large, because you get teams like this that come in and make that kind of noise. And when you look back at that matchup in week 2 at Marion, who was number 6 in the country at the time, they lose that one by 7 points. And you talk a lot about the difference in the way your team and the kind of the structure of your team looks from week 2 to week 13 is
sure.
So, again, not a math guy. That's a long ass time. That's also means that, both those teams have gone through a lot of change, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. And that matchup, although it was obviously still a competitive one, you can throw that prior matchup out the window, because while the schemes and a lot of things maybe have been unaltered for the most part, that game is against 2 different teams than we're seeing just on Saturday.
Absolutely. 2 months is a lot of time to watch film and prepare and change your philosophy and perfect things. And this is obviously what that St. Xavier team did. They knew what they needed to fix from the first time they played them. They got it done. It's very impressive from them.
Finally, notes on the Battle of the Orangemen down there, Georgetown and Baker. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, Georgetown just cannot, avoid these orange teams for some reason. But
it's not good look for graphics either, by the way.
No,
so
not at all.
We flipped that up this week. We got a nice one with the red of the Wildcats over there. But I'm with that.
Yeah, totally. But this Georgetown team is on absolute fire right now. They're on a roll. Defensively, they just stuff teams. Absolutely stuff teams. And Baker is usually a team that can, score points pretty easily. Yulesgard has been fantastic for them this year. But holding him to under 250 yards, only at a touchdown, on the ground also, containing him to under 100 rushing. He had 60 yards rushing. And that'll get it done. I mean, Georgetown's defense just absolutely came to play like they have week in and week out. And this is even a Baker offense that statistically was still doing very good for a good chunk of the game. Just could not put points on the board in the first half, which, you know, they were down 35-0 at half. That'll do it for you. Yeah. But, you know, maybe some garbage time points in there. But Jesus. Georgetown, this is a team to be afraid of right now. Absolutely.
With that being said, take a little peep at this matchups for this coming weekend. Obviously, the Georgetown, they get to pull Indiana Wesleyan. And if IDub is scoreless at half, I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something crazy. That would be a ridiculous one. But crazier things have happened. Obviously, St. Xavier, they get probably the toughest draw of the match there, and we'll see if the Cougars, Cats? I'm blanking.
I believe those are the Cougars.
Okay.
Yes.
I should have stuck with my gut there, but we'll see if they can take on the defending national champs. Obviously, they seem to be playing their best ball at the right time, but out of these matchups, man, what's got you the most excited if you had to pick one?
Yeah, Bethel Kaiser is what I absolutely have my eyes on right now. This is shootout. This is the best offense in the country going against one of the best defenses in the country. I honestly couldn't tell you if it's going to be high scoring or low scoring. It's just going to be a brawl. Best way to put it. And Bethel wanting to get revenge from last year when Kaiser came to Tennessee and beat Bethel in the playoffs. Bethel gets to drive down to Florida and give them a taste of their own medicine. Maybe, I don't know. It's going to be an absolute showdown. I am super excited for this one.
Play the spoiler on the road, man. I remember talking a lot about that Bethel squad earlier in the year. It was actually on a different show that I was invited to be on, and Joaquin Collazo at under center, and a lot of those pieces offensively for that Bethel squad that I wouldn't say definitely came out of nowhere, but certainly has stepped into a very prominent role down there and has come to have some really high expectations, some lofty expectations for that squad. So I'm excited, man. Another great weekend to watch all of it. And the benefit of that is as we continue to move forward, the fact that there's less games means that I actually get to watch a lot more of them, which is a blessing.
True.
Man, that first round of the playoffs is hell because you're just trying to keep up with everything. I'm actually thankful that we have a little less football, albeit that means that there is less football and we're almost done.
Yeah, but this is the best football of the year for a reason, obviously. Like, these are some great games coming up, and we're going to see a lot of good football this weekend. I really encourage people to tune in if they can.
Absolutely. Matt, I appreciate you, dude. We'll see what your Huskies can do over there in the Pac-2. Is that what they're calling it now?
Well, I guess Pac-2 championship. It's still the Pac-12 until pretty much after Friday.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how I'm doing. I'll be on here.
Who's left that doesn't have a conference? Is Oregon State and
Wazoo, unfortunately.
And one of their coaches just got poached.
Yep, Jonathan Smith's at Michigan State. Not fun for them.
I like the move for Sparty, though.
Yeah, he's a good coach. It's a good hire.
Seems like, someone who I have not heard a lot about, which at this point is good for Sparty.
Yeah, Jonathan Smith's just an absolute program builder. I mean, to take Oregon State to a top 15 team the past 2 years, extremely impressive.
I love that. I love that for Sparty. They don't need any more headlines unless it comes with winning football games.
Yes, it's very true.
Sweet.
Very true.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you, man.
Yep. Take it easy.
Absolutely, brother. Have a good one.
You too.